call this meeting to order. I want to say thank you for coming. The Greentown people are here, we're glad you're here. And one thing I want to warn this group up here about, I understand we got a new mic system. Don't use any profanity, because it picks it up, it doesn't leave it out. And I'm assuming that the people are speaking there, it's probably upgraded too. So, again, I want to say welcome. How you doing, Mr. Thomas? Sidekick, Curtis, all of you. And, Steve, is this your first meeting here, Grissom?
Second.
Second. Well, that's good. I'm not gonna say, well, I'll see you tomorrow. Again, I want to say thank you for being here. Pauline, glad you're here. I was afraid you were going to be gone or something. But welcome, everybody. Let's get the show on the road. Let's see, who will you the first person? The announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. We need to go ahead and set a special meeting on Monday.
Microphones aren't working just yet.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
That's probably my fault. Is that better?
Now what do you say?
We need to set a special meeting for Monday, March 25th at 5:30 p.m. Here in this boardroom, 5 West Main Street, Franklin, North Carolina. And that will be for the purposes of a public hearing to consider entering into the private sale agreement to sell county-owned property and provide an incentive grant. And at this time, we will also be approving a contract for the pre-construction services at the Franklin High School project. We'll be discussing a little bit more about that here this evening. And between now and the time that advertisement goes out, should any other business need to come before this board, the advertisement that is posted 48 hours prior to the meeting would include such items. As a special meeting that notice has to contain the items that we'll be discussing.
Can you give us that date again? Because we may not have had our phones on.
Monday, March 25th at 5:30 p.m.
Did you hear that back there, Steve? You got it?
March 25th, 5:30.
All right. 5:30.
I'm early.
Anything we have to motion on that to approve that movement, or will you?
No, when we will recess this meeting and we will advertise via a special meeting notice for that meeting on March 25th at 5:30 p.m.
Awesome.
All right. Mr. Antoine.
All right, let's stand for a moment of silence.
Get over here with you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public hearings, none. I would go into public comment. If you will, make it nice, clean, and respectful. We would appreciate that. Grace, are you first?
Yes, sir.
Can you get on that mic there, or do you want me to lean it down, or what are you gonna do?
Does it,
Doesn't
work?
work?
I think it does, I'm not sure.
Can you hear it back there?
No.
All right.
I'm too tall.
Hold it, darling. Hold this minute. What you gotta say is important.
They'll adjust it as she's talking.
Pardon me?
They'll adjust it as she's talking.
It's a new system.
Good evening, Chairman Shields and County Commissioners. I'm Gracie Parker, the founder of YS Kids. It has been a while since I have come to speak to you, but that doesn't mean that things have not been happening. Since my last youth mental health rally last April, I have stayed on task to get youth mental health for children and to have trauma counselors in all schools starting at the elementary school level. And from what I am hearing and being told, there are efforts being made by our school board, city, and county council to move in that direction. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I am looking forward to getting an update soon about the opioid settlement fund distribution. Tonight I am here to talk about the second annual Youth Mental Health Rally I have scheduled on April 28, 2024 from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the gazebo downtown Franklin. We are going to have many new speakers at the event, with our keynote speaker being our very own North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Cody Kinsley. Our focus this year is mental health and coping skills, including activities for the kids. I would like to put up signs around the parks and streets to advertise my event like our politicians do. Do I need special permission for that?
You got it.
Thank you. I would like for you all to come and support the event, as most of you did last year. My organization, YS Kids, and myself published a book last year called Shattered, Lives Broken by Substance Abuse and How We Put the Pieces Back Together, and it includes my story. The book is available on Amazon, and all proceeds go to YS Kids. Tonight, I would like to present a signed copy to you, County Commissioners, so we can become a part of our town government.
Thank you, Dawn. Shattered, Gracie or Elke or Ames, anybody want to add to this to help her? What we got here, Elke, or what?
Shattered is a book of lives broken because of substance abuse and how they put the pieces back together. There's about 20 stories in there from all different walks of lives. Some people from recovery, some people who have lost loved ones, and Gracie's story, of course, of her parents. All of them have donated their stories so it can be published by YS Kids.
I want to thank all of you here tonight, as well as our school board members and city council for their continued support and for listening, and I hope to continue to work together with you for the future of us children in our community and state. You know I'm not going to go away, right?
I hope not.
And lastly, I want to thank our law enforcement agencies, including Sheriff Holbrook and City Chief of Police Holland, for their quick response during the very scary time for us children several weeks ago when we got locked down at school. Seeing the quick response made us feel safe. Thank you.
Okay, one other thing. You got to tell this public what recent awards you won.
So recently I have won the award of the Youth Citizenship Award here in Macon County for
The Chamber of Commerce.
From 2023 to 2024.
Let's give her a
Is there any questions?
Probably something may pop up, but I know your email and I know YS Kids and I know your grandparents and we communicate well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gracie.
Mary Ann, can you use this microphone and make sure your speech is clean?
Yes, sir.
All right.
With this PE voice, I hardly need a microphone.
Well, bring it on. Mary Ann Ingram.
I was looking at our agenda and the new business G. This is being considered, and I appreciate that you all have put this back on consideration. And I know y'all know this, but I just want to remind you that 1/4 of a cent is just 1/4. Cut this in 4 pieces right here. And that's all that's being asked for is one little quarter of this penny. And it would take us $5 to get 1 penny more on our bill when we go to Walmart or any place else. So thank y'all so much for putting it back up, and I hope that we can get a chance to vote on it again. And all of you will be in support of it. Thank you for your support the last time.
Thank you for your support. Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Where's the man and wife? Betsy, you're first. They come as a team. When you hear one, you're gonna hear the other one.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey,
Thank
guys.
you so much for giving us this opportunity to speak with you. I am here for two things. One, to reiterate what Mary Ann said. 100%. In fact, I will help politic for you if you pass the referendum on the quarter-cent tax. You tell me where you want that message out, and I will help you. I will work hard to make that happen so that we can get people who travel through here to also put money in Macon County, like it should have happened 2 years ago. The other thing I want to stress is how important this little sea of green behind me is, not just because St. Patrick's Day is coming up, but all these people in green shirts back here, they have a very important message for you, and I want to hope that you support them in what they're doing for this community.
Will
That's
you
it.
introduce your husband?
Sure, this is Scott Bass, the
Hey,
handsome
Dave,
one.
Scott. They're a team.
All gets 5 minutes.
Wait a minute. Three's already gone. There's lying about one of them, so you got 1 minute.
Thank y'all for considering the quarter-cent sales tax. Please, 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 let's get this through this time.
Depend on you. Let's see, Loudon, am I doing that right?
Yeah, that's me.
There you are. I thought you disappeared on me.
Good evening, Commissioners. The reason I came here tonight is about the roads in Macon County. And I talked to Josh about the Georgia Road,
Good.
and it seems like it's not going to continue, which is good, because I have a lot of people wanting me to bring that up. On behalf of myself, I want to bring up some of the roads, especially these culverts they're putting in, are rough. I need to get an alignment every few weeks or every couple months. So if there's something that can be done to improve the roads, that would be very beneficial to everybody. That's about all I have to say.
Anything you can add to that, Brother John?
I mean, first thing I'd say
Well, not
is,
to interact, but
Okay.
another question.
well, I think that's an issue that everybody in this county can agree with. So I want to say thanks for coming in person tonight. Let me get your contact information, and we'll send a three-way email out to our state rep or our local district rep with the DOT, and let's make them aware.
All right.
The
Where should I
squeaky
give
wheel
that
gets the grease.
information?
Do you have an email address I can take down real
Yeah,
quick?
my name.
Let's see, Louden?
Right. It's Jake Loudon at msn.com. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
Okay. That seems to be everybody at this time. I'll pass this over to Mr. Bowen. At this time, I'd like to turn section number 9, reports and presentation. Turn that over to Mr. Paul Higgs.
Mr. Chairman,
What did I do?
if we could run through the additions to
Oh,
the
yeah,
agenda.
I always forget that. Additions to the agenda. Number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to first, if we could, under old business, after item 10A, before we discuss item 10B, we'd like to have a brief closed session.
A brief closed session.
Yes.
After 10B.
Yes, sir.
Or for, during the 10B, okay. After 10A is what we're saying, right?
Yes, right after 10A, before we discuss 10B, I need a brief closed session to preserve attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
And if we could, after we discuss item 10B coming out of closed session, we'll need to add an item number 10B1, and that's going to be reconciliation of change orders at the Macon Middle School locker room project.
Tammy, you getting this?
If we could also remove item 10E, we're going to, that will be another item we'll add to that March 25th meeting. We have completed the contract. We do have a contract that we think is going to work. We're just ironing out some minor details right now. They're inconsequential. The CM at risk for the Highlands project is currently working, and we're not holding them up by waiting until the 25th to ink this. So that's not going to delay anything, but nonetheless, we'll need to remove item 10E. And we need to add one appointment to the EDC under, that's 13A. So instead of 2 seats, we're going to be discussing adding or filling 3 seats on that Economic Development Board tonight.
We'll catch up with that there. For Mr. Lynch's superintendent, can you share with him what we're doing there on that, would you say 10E?
Yeah,
Have you got,
he and I are on the same page with that.
so you already know recommendation for construction manager, CM at risk for Franklin High School?
That's Highlands. 10E's Highlands. We have the contract ready. We're just ironing out a couple minor details. And we were back and forth this afternoon, and I spoke with the contractor. We're going to postpone that until the 25th. It's not going to hold the project up. They're working on it. But to ink that document, we're actually going to do it on the 25th. We just got a few little things that we're tweaking.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I think you're here. We go to 9A.
Eight.
Well, you have to keep me on here. I'm moving.
Adjustments to and approval of
Addition-
the agenda.
Adjustments to and approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, under new business, 11J, discussion regarding draft registration permitting of haulers and collectors in Macon County solid waste. This is the first that I've heard anything about this process. And I would like to table that until a future meeting to get a clear understanding what has promoted this for the Macon County landfill and the haulers.
And I think the intent of tonight is to present it to the board for the first time. This is something that the solid waste is presenting tonight, or would be presenting tonight for the first time for informational purposes for the board only. It is intended to start that discussion process and to better inform the board on what the solid waste department is thinking with this proposal. So that's what, it was purely meant tonight for informational purposes only and to begin the discussion for this board. So
You okay with
I don't
that?
know if that impacts.
So just information.
That's fine.
Did I leave it on your cell phone? I called you.
But that's fine.
Okay, just leave it on there.
No action was expected.
Okay. There's just a lot of information provided to us with fee schedules and everything else, so, but that's fine. We
All right,
can,
leave it on there for information purposes. All right, where we're going to now? Back over to the, now, are we gonna, but we stay
Make a
with-
motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion about the agenda? All in favor, raise your right hand or left. All right, so we got all that change done. Now we go to reports and presentations, and I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Higgins on number 9.
Rhonda? Wait a minute. Franklin Garden Club, come on up.
there you go.
All the green shirts here.
That was the key, okay. I'm Rhonda Talent. I have been appointed the liaison between the Franklin Garden Club and the town and the county. Paige, oh, sorry. Paige Selking is our current president, and we have a few of our members back here tonight. So tonight, we're going to present you, and I think you do have a package. Paige is going to go over some key points that we've done to date and what our plans are projected for the rest of the fiscal year.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us present to you guys tonight. So as Rhonda said, you guys have a packet. Let's not turn it on quite yet. But basically wanted to just remind you guys that the Franklin Garden Club has been taking care of public spaces in Franklin since 1928, with just a really brief pause. And that does include both Rankin and Clock Tower Squares, which are owned by by Macon County rather than the town of Franklin. In 2023, we did partner with Men's Challenge, so we did have some assistance from them, but we did have 654 hours of volunteer time from our members that totaled $19,528.44, according to the independent sector's volunteer valuation. So that's a lot of money that the Garden Club is saving the county in maintaining those two squares. Since July 2023, which is when the fiscal year started, some of the things that we've done just in those two squares are, of course, maintaining and adding new flowers and mulch. We also had the oak tree trimmed, which you guys might have remembered seeing happen a couple months ago. We replaced the transformer in Rankin Square that wasn't functioning properly, so we wanted to make sure our lights were coming on at night for safety. When we did replace that, we increased the wattage on it so that we can add additional lights later and they will function properly. We also began decorating the gardens for the holidays. That might not seem like a big deal, but we have seen so many people coming into the gardens and using that as photo opportunities, which is a really great thing to promote our county. Not only we have locals as well as visitors. So we stop and talk to them and find out it's being used by not just the people from out of town, but also a lot of our own folks are coming in and utilizing the gardens regularly. We just recently replaced the AstroTurf in Clock Tower Square. That was a really big project that was just recently completed. We also installed expandable greenery, that fencing that expands around the clock tower and the arches. We use down underneath there for storage. We've heard visitors comment about how ugly it was to see in the middle of these gardens all of our stored items. So that was a solution that we came up with and recently installed. We have also added concrete tables and benches to Clock Tower Square, and we've had numerous people comment about people using those already to have lunch and have a coffee break. We've also added concrete benches behind the monument in Rankin Square. We did find some original plans from Clark's and noticed that the benches were actually on the original plans. So that's something we're actually just completing something that was intended all along. So those were just some of the big projects. That means that between July 1 of 2023 and this February, we've spent $13,490.83 in supplies in Clock Tower and Rankin Square. So a pretty good amount this current fiscal year. So the executive committee has met to determine 2024-2025 priorities, which is really what we're here to talk with you guys tonight about. So one of them is to improve lighting in both of the squares. Anybody who's been down there at night knows that it can be really dark. One of the things we've done already is worked with Duke because we noticed that there were multiple streetlights that were burned out. So those are getting replaced. The light bulbs are, and in some cases also the lights themselves. We also want to add more lights along the walkways, the pathways in the gardens. We want to wrap some of the trees with fairy lights and maybe do some bistro lighting over where the concrete tables are. So it'll make it look pretty, give it ambiance, but it'll also add safety. So people, if they're using the gardens in the evening, are going to feel a little bit more secure about walking in that area. We have some really nice giant all-metal park benches. They're $1,600 a piece. We can't afford to replace those. So the little ones that are metal ends with like plastic or fiberglass boards were really, really rickety. So that was one of Min's challenge project, was to go through and tighten all the screws, replace bolts that were missing. Some of them, it was shocking how many bolts were missing and that no one had fallen yet. But they're yellow, the slats are yellow, and they're really awful looking. So one of our projects this year, we've already talked with Job Corps about, is we'll provide the paint, and they're gonna come in and paint them all black. So at least we can extend their life a few years. So that's one of the ways we're trying to stretch our dollars as much as possible, is to come up with solutions to extend life of items and do things as reasonably as we can. And so now, so you have in your packets pictures, they're gonna be projected, and then Rhonda's also gonna hand you some, I can do this if you wanna pass it out. When she passes them, they're numbered on the back. The first one you'll see is,
What are we doing?
pictures number 1 and 2 are of the two metal fences, or the metal fence that's around both squares. As you can see in the first picture, they are very rusty, and then they're also
Thank you.
very discolored. So again, that's one that we've already asked Job Corps if they will come and paint them if we provide the paint. So that's something that we feel like will extend the life of the fence, but also make it look a lot nicer than it currently does. One of our projects this year that's gonna be a big community event, because we really want our community to realize these are their gardens. These, are the heart of Franklin, but they're also the heart of Macon County, and it's important for our, it not just to be visitors, but that our community realizes these gardens are theirs to use. So we are gonna be creating a kindness rock garden in Rankin Square. And that really came from, if any of you follow our Facebook page, we found a painted rock in the garden this past fall. And it reminded me of a rock garden in a neighborhood we lived in South Carolina, where there was a corner and there was just a bunch of painted rocks, and there was a basket of unpainted rocks. People could take a rock, paint it, put it back, take a rock that they thought, was just really cool. So that's just something that we thought would be a really fun way to especially get kids involved and using the gardens. And I had actually found, after we posted that, a rock in Clock Tower that was clearly painted by a child and left for someone to find. So that was kind of a cool idea, and I think it will take off, just having seen a couple of those things happening. And we'll have a big celebration in June for everybody in the community to open that garden, be in the gardens, painting their rocks and leaving them to get it started. We talked already about starting to decorate the gardens year-round. One of the things that we will be adding is on the pergola, which is always going to be decorated, a Franklin, North Carolina sign, because we want, when people take pictures and post them all over social media, as everyone does, we want them to know where they were when they took that picture, and hopefully have more people come and visit our gardens in our town. Pictures 3 and 4, we have several trees. These are the hinoki or the false cypress trees that are in Rankin next to the old Macon News Building. They are really showing signs of stress. We did tree and soil testing, consulted and worked with the extension office to find out if there was diseases. There is not. They are just stressed. They're too tight in there. And so we've also I briefly talked to Josh beforehand to let him know we're working with Bob, who he knows from Modern Tree Services. And so he's been advising us, and between the co-op and Bob, we really feel like those are trees that are gonna probably need to come down. When they do, we will already have a plan in place to replace them with native trees or shrubs that will fill in that area. So that's always gonna be our goal, is to move towards native whenever possible. So picture number 5, this is really hard to tell what you're looking at, but this is where, especially Josh, we invite you to meet us over there with Bob. We spent a long time, Bob and I did, looking at how the roots from the big oak tree are pushing up the walkway. This is a really bad picture of the worst of it, but we thought about shaving the root, we thought about severing the root, but then the more we looked at it, that root system goes probably 20 feet out between, the two directions, and it's like the main taproot. So if we sever it, we're probably gonna lose the tree. So that's something we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna deal with, and that's where, Josh, we would love to also get your input there.
Please let me know.
Yeah,
Love to.
that'd be great, thank you. So we are also planning on pressure brushing. Didn't know that was a thing, but evidently we can pressure brush the AstroTurf in Rankin Square, and that will help extend the life of that AstroTurf, which is massively expensive to replace. So again, we're trying all we can to save money. We'll be replacing mulch, flowers, plants as needed. The big one, though, that we really wanted to talk to you about tonight is the clock tower. And Rhonda, you want to flip through some of these pictures for me, please? So we would like to repaint the clock tower. We've already talked to Job Corps. I, in fact, reconfirmed with them today that they are on board to repaint it once the repairs are made. And we will be providing Job Corps any of the supplies they need to do the painting projects. They'll just be doing the labor for free for us. But as you can see, the clock tower is in a need of a lot of repairs, including the roof and the fascia boards, which are really rotting. So we know that July 11th of 2023, we had some members from the Garden Club come and speak to the commissioners and bring it to your attention that it was starting to really have some need of repairs. And at that point, Commissioner Higdon, you had mentioned appointing a point person, so I'm not sure if that's been done at this point. So we really would, like to, if it hasn't, like to see that happen and figure out, how we can make these repairs happen. One of the things that we also did was went and talked to Robert Shook, the curator at the Historical Museum, just to make sure there were no restrictions, since parts of it is obviously a replica from the original clock tower, but does have some original parts as well. And he said there are no restrictions. He did ask that we continue to use the current core bells, and offered a pattern that they keep in the museum should we need to rebuild any of those. So we know that we can move forward with repairs with no restrictions there. As Commissioner Higdon did say last year, the clock tower is the center of Macon County. It is a representative of our county, and since 1881, that original clock tower was on top of our courthouse. So it is something that we feel like is really important as the center of our county seat to get it repaired, get it painted, and just really have it be the showpiece and symbol that it is of our county. You can see in the last one, we also have a leak. We actually had the town of Franklin out there, 2 or 3 weeks ago, trying to figure out where all the water inside was coming from. And because we now have tarps on the inside too around the gates, so we knew it wasn't coming through the sides. It's clearly coming through the roof. We happened to be in there after a heavy rain, and I'm like, I'm getting dripped on. So the roof is in real need of some probably just full replacement. So this is obviously an eyesore, unfortunately, but it's also becoming a safety issue because it's getting so many pieces that are rotting that we feel like it won't be too long before we'll start to have some of those pieces break off. So the goal of the Franklin Garden Club has always been to maintain, but also to continue to improve. And that's a focus that we're really looking at with some of these maintenance issues, is we need to make sure that we're maintaining, but always moving forward with new things like the tables and benches and stuff. Macon County has included $2,500 in the annual budget every year since 2007. Clearly, prices have gone up since 2007. We've had a lot more maintenance issues, and as you've seen, we've spent more than $13,000 just this year. So we have come then to respectfully ask that the county commissioners approve $5,000 this year in the budget to help kind of make sure that we can make these improvements and continuing to keep it at both of those gardens nice places to go for visitors and our locals. Thank you.
I will say, I drive by there often, and I guess you ladies do such a good job with the gardens, I didn't realize how terrible some of these pictures are. That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
It's really bad.
yeah.
So,
Well, when Bob was up in his bucket truck trimming the oak tree, he went, "Oh my gosh." I said, I wish I would have remembered to have him take a cell phone from up above because he said the roof damage on that top is just really bad. Yeah, we did notice when we found the leak that the top, there's plexiglass.
Lexi done, and it's leaking.
So, yeah.
I
Thank
believe,
you.
Mr. Higdon and Ms. Sherrill both have been involved in this project.
We've talked about this for a couple of years, surely. And nothing it just doesn't take off. And we appreciate as commissioner, as a citizen of Macon County, when I go down there, I appreciate what y'all do to Rankin Square and the clock tower. If we had to pay that out to a private firm or hire people to do it, $2,500 a year, I mean, it's.
I'm having work in my yard done as we speak, and I wish it was 2,500. It's amazing how expensive it gets, yeah. But the clock tower, I know that it is a lot of money to think about doing, but we're now coming into probably some safety concerns. And I
It's-
think that kind of changes it too.
Tell me real quickly, what are your sources of income?
So we do get some money from the town. That goes, they also help, with some of the stuff in the two squares, even though it's not theirs. They want to make sure they stay nice, so we appreciate that. But then we also take care of some other areas for the town as well. And then we have our annual plant sale, which is May 11th. That is our big fundraiser every year. And that's pretty much it. So we may be looking at some, what was that, Rhonda?
Donations.
Donations, yeah, membership dues we pay annually. But we'll also, if our costs continue to be at this level, we're gonna have to be looking at some additional funding sources.
Gosh.
And you just took on the town headquarters down there. Y'all are maintaining that now, aren't you?
In front of Town Hall?
Yes, in front
We
of town.
don't maintain it, we plant it and then they keep it up. Geo keeps it up the rest of the summer. But then that drainage area coming into downtown from Highlands Road area, that actually, we just took that on, the town asked us, that doesn't belong to them either, that's the state. But again, they want to see it look nice because it was just looking so ratty. So we're putting planters down Main Street this year. Big wood planters is on the agenda as well. I know that's not in the squares, but anything that makes that downtown area look good, Yeah, the 2 entrance signs for Welcome to Franklin have been added. I haven't. We agreed to that. So our members as a whole don't know yet. We're taking on yet another project, so. I'm sorry.
Your side,
They're leaving you.
Yeah,
your side of the street looks good.
yeah,
There's 4 lots down there at the center of Macon County. The gazebo, the courthouse,
right.
and those are terribly neglected.
We
And-
have to have some clones if we have to take on anything else.
Well, and I appreciate y'all incorporating Teen Challenge. That's a brilliant idea, and they love it. And I've been down there when they were working, and I've watched you ladies, but it's the center of Macon County, and I was hoping last year that we could come together with a plan to improve, because even on our side, those roots are bucking up the sidewalks and safety hazards.
Right,
And some of those trees on this side of the square is going to have to be addressed. And I'd hope to have a plan to present to you ladies tonight, but that hadn't happened. But we need to, I appreciate what y'all are doing to those 2 spots down there. We need to expand that to take care of those four corners. I mean, I just can't, it frustrates me that we just can't get it together to take care of that. Thank y'all for what you do. And it's frustrating. We've talked about this, Shirley and I, and you ladies. I've watched y'all work down there, sweat, blood, tears. But as far as, I mean, $2,500 in the budget for what you ladies do is chicken feed. I have no problem making a motion to grant your request for $5,000, but that's still, for what you all do, the magnitude of work that y'all do, and you're out having to raise the money to do it, to take care of taxpayer property. What do you guys think? I mean,
I think I don't have the problem. I think we're in the budget process now that we're all working with. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with settling for $5,000.
Well,
But I
I'll
wanna
be
go through the
submitting
process.
our proposal to Lori. We email, so I'll be sending that in, so,
As part of the upcoming budget request.
yeah.
Okay,
I mean, you spent $14,000 just in materials,
right.
and you're asking for $5,000 plus all your labor. Doesn't
What
equate.
came in last year for your donations? Do you know?
We really haven't done a lot of donations. It's mostly been county, town, and then, what was it, 2,600 from the plant sale? Does that sound right, Shirley?
For the fundraiser?
Last year for the fundraiser, yeah, and then, right now we have membership of, I think our Florida people are not back yet, so I think we're at about 28 right now. So one of the things we are looking at as another option to raise money is to offer membership that would be for people who are not going to be active members, kind of like a support membership, if you will. So kind of like the Greenway does, that's where I got the idea. They have a lot of members that I know aren't all down there necessarily working, but that money is helping maintain. So we're looking at ideas also to bring in some additional funds.
And your membership's what, $20 a year?
Currently 20, it's gonna probably have to go up a little bit because that's been 20 for a long time too, but we'll try to keep it reasonable, but.
Yeah, but I hate to see you
They get a shirt and I just found out our shirts are $16, so.
I hate to see you.
That's not really helping us until year 2 of membership, so.
You're charging for the membership to take care of the county properties.
Yeah,
That's just, that,
My question about the clock tower is, how did that rotten clock tower become your issue, taking care of the gardens?
Because it sits in the middle of the gardens.
But is that not out of your scope of what?
Well, we can't repair it, no.
I understand,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand. That's the point that I'm trying to make. That clock tower, with the roof leak and everything else and the trim pieces of the fascia board, it's gonna rot to the ground. This is not something that we can play around with. You either fix the clock tower, not you personally.
Right,
Or we lose it.
right.
And Commissioner Higdon and I walked through the whole place and we've identified all the issues. And the recommendation was, well, the Job Corps came on board. The question is why aren't we incorporating the high school carpentry class to help make these repairs? And as someone that has basically grown up in Highlands, we see a need, the community comes together. Well, we are a county of building contractors. Why we can't go outside of the tax base and get volunteers like you ladies take an absolutely beautiful job over here. There's no question the job that y'all do. But just like Commissioner Higgins said, look across the street at what we're facing. A life expectancy of streetscape. All these trees and these planters they've outlived their life expectancy. If you go down all the sidewalks, the picture you've shown of the brick pavers where they're cracking because of the root structure, that's happening all over this town. But we are better than this. to stop allowing our county to fall apart. And how do we get there? But I think, you know, we have people that, building contractors, we have people that are financially secure, we have people that are not financially secure. So how do we, as a county, get people to volunteer to take care of some of these issues without depending on tax collections to do this work? Just like your volunteerism, you show exactly how many hours that you volunteered, the work that you did, what it saved the taxpayers of Macon County. Beautiful job. How do we address and get the rest of it fixed? And for God's sakes, let's get this clock tower rebuilt by someone in this, I mean, if we have a maintenance department, the maintenance department are they not capable of?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, sure, but you gotta understand, you know, we've got about 400,000 square feet of buildings on hundreds of acres, that each one of those buildings, I mean, you're talking about 70-something HVAC units that have maintenance, and these buildings, like the town of Franklin, you know, we talk about working with them, and we work with the town of Franklin, like, for instance, the sewer line that serves LBJ. Town collects revenue on that sewer line, but, you know, when that sewer line needs repaired, we have to go out and repair that sewer line. Sometimes that ties up 4 or 5 people for days on that job, so we're used to working with the town on things like that, and it's just a matter of prioritization, and the time for these things to be included is in the budget process, certainly, like Commissioner Shields alluded to, and we had our budget kickoff retreat, and I don't recall the clock tower being mentioned. I mean, if the commissioners, if this board wants it included in the budget, we're more than happy to put it in the budget, and we'll fix the clock tower, if that's what the desires of this board is, but it's important, like during this budget process, and that was the purpose of our budget kickoff, you know, is to set these priorities like this for the coming fiscal year. Because, you know, the immediate priority is maintenance, and, you know, and this, if this project is identified and maintenance wants to do it, and the board wants maintenance to do it, they can certainly do it. But I'm just saying, with the amount of space that they maintain and all of the county facilities and vast areas that we do maintain and have to keep safe that are heavily utilized, this being one of them, it just has to be prioritized. So if this is what a priority for the board to be included in the budget, we'll certainly put it in.
Commissioner Carroll, can I piggyback off of something you said? We have woodworking shops, like you said. We also have roofing companies. We did get approval from the Historical Society that roof does not have to be shingled. It could be metal. Why couldn't we get one of the roofing companies to donate? Get a color green, for example. That's the most common metal roof that there is. I'm sure they have enough, and I won't have any linear feet we're talking about, but they could donate the material.
Mm-hmm.
They could even donate the labor if they chose to. But you're right, it's not our responsibility, but we're the ones that listen to and see it. And, you know, LBJ said they would paint everything. So why couldn't we approach the community, or not we, why couldn't you folks approach the community and say, look, we need this done, and see what you get, with no cost to the taxpayer?
I think you've planted the seed. I think it's happening right now. I see smoke off of Mr. Sherrill's pen over there. You'll see it in the Franklin Press, what we're talking about here. And any other media people that are here, this is going to hit the line, then it goes on social media and things like that. I think you planted the seed. I think we'll have some help that's going to come in here and volunteers. And I believe we've already had some interest of some people.
Well, go ahead, Josh.
Let me say one thing. Two things I want to bring up. And this is off topic, but club dues and membership fees. So you ladies pay to go out here and work for us. I mean, we're talking about a lot of stuff right here, but I can't get over that. I mean, membership dues and club fees. So listen, we're going to help you, all right? I see our CTE director right back there. That right there is our school board, and we have a wonderful carpentry department. Listen, there are people that want to help. I feel like We just gotta do a better job networking.
Well, we even
And-
went down, Shirley talked to some people down at Beasley's, and we've got donated wood to build planters all up and down Main Street. Doesn't cost us a penny.
We'll help you.
But going back, I don't want to make it sound like I'm pointing fingers at the maintenance department. If they're not asked to do
Right.
it, they
Well,
know,
and
they
like
don't
you
know
said,
to
there's
do it.
priorities, you have to.
If you don't ask a building contractor or a supply company for donations, they have no idea. And so I just like, I'm very impatient when it comes to stuff like this, and I understand the government process and everything else, but this structure right here didn't get this way overnight, okay? So, I guess as a community, effort, and a board effort, then maybe we should identify these problems and introduce them to the general public to maybe move forward
Well, and I
with.
think that's what our push for really getting the community to understand these are all our gardens is a part of that. You know, Beasley's was like, yeah, we'll give you the wood, that's fine, we have seconds, and this is a really small one, but I put out a Facebook request on our, 1,100 followers. We needed pots to dig up some stuff for the plant sale. I put it out in the afternoon. I said, drop off tomorrow afternoon. I had to put the next afternoon, please stop bringing pots, because we had so many people drop off pots. So I think if we really ask and get them to understand, we're doing things to these areas so that they can enjoy them, that people will step up and say, yeah, I want to be part of that.
And
Well, I gotta say, I'm with Josh. Let's get y'all to stop paying to work for us and get the community involved, because that's crazy. So, but thank you all for what you do, because that's intense.
Big John
Thank
had
you
Yeah,
so
just
much.
one more thing. Has anyone approached the businesses on Main Street to ask for donations?
Yes, and they
So
have, yes.
one of the things we're doing is because the planters will sit outside the merchants, there's some of those small concrete planters that are currently trip hazards. We have asked them, giving them the little sheet telling them what we want to do with the planters that'll be planted year round, and ask if they would donate those concrete planters because they own them. Maybe not the current merchant, but a merchant in there bought them at one point. And we've had good response so far. Yes, absolutely, take them so we can put them in the plant sale and help, offset some of those costs. So we're doing everything we can to try to help stretch the dollars.
Thank you.
I think as we go through our budget process, again, you planted the seed, we've heard you, and got a lot of people in here that have heard you. And I think we'll put some things together. I still feel strongly about the clock tower, that we need to take care of that. That's been here since 1800 and,
1881 was the original one, and then that one since 1972.
Mr. Antoine, he was here when it first brought in. And so we're glad he's still with us.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Question? No.
May I make a suggestion?
Oh, Lord.
We got a Franklin Press person here.
Yes, he's right there. His pen's
Okay.
smoking.
Franklin Press could give free advertisement to some company who wants to redo that clock tower.
He's like, I'm not in charge of that.
We'll have to talk to me about that. Let me ask you one question, County Manager. Do we go to Seth's place here on A?
Yes.
Or before we go?
Yes,
ahead
we
with-
do.
Okay. Old business, see, what you got there, Mr. Adams, Seth Adams? Hey, Brian?
Good evening. I'm here tonight to discuss contract with McGill Associates for the planning phase of Phase 1A of the Recreation Master Plan, which includes the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, the multi-use building will have bathrooms, changing rooms for tennis, and also a bridge that crosses from one side of the park to the other, which will enable buses that come to tennis matches to park on the community building side, which is a whole lot easier access than to go up onto 441. We went through the RFQ process to pick McGill and Associates. Then we went through a negotiation phase with them. The original contract cost total was $173,200, and we were able to get them down to $163,200.
700.
700, sorry. Yes, 700, not 200.
And we do have 200,000 in the budget, so there's no appropriation needed to enter into this contract. We had originally just put 200,000 for pickleball courts. Of course, plans change, things change, you know. We all had a bigger vision for the park, so we can take the, money to enter into this contract out of that line item.
So we're looking for a motion.
Motion to approve, entering into the contract with McGill in the amount of 163.7 for Phase 1A.
We have two liaisons here.
I was going to ask you, do you want to say anything about today? You want me to?
No.
I just want to give a quick update. We had a Parks and Rec liaison meeting today. I want to thank Mr. Weller for coming down the mountain and attending this meeting as well. That's 2 trips down the mountain for him today. It's something we've been talking about for a number of years, the pickleball, tennis courts, and the paddle facilities. And this falls right in line with our CIP. We budgeted this item. And Mr. Sherrill, is there anything you'd like to add before I make a motion?
No, I think it's very exciting for new life at this park. Pickleball players have been very patient, understanding through this process, and I'm excited and ready for the new life that started at the rec park.
Yes.
And that was 163,700?
Yes.
Is that right? At this time, I make a motion. We enter into contract with McGill Associates, the amount of 163,700.
Second?
Liaison.
He seconded it.
Okay, you second it, okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in agreement, but raise your hand. 5-0. 5-0.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Seth, for what you do. Derek, can you give us a little time frame on this, what we're going to do?
Should not take more than 10 minutes.
Bathrooms are down the hall to your right and left.
So we need a motion
Make a motion, we go into closed session.
pursuant to 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, adjourn to the back room. All agreed? Don't run off.
advertise it.
Do I have to click this back in, Mr. Higgins? Mr. Higgins, do I have to do this again?
Fund balance.
Okay, where we go, Mr. Rowland?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After discussion, I would like to ask the board to entertain a motion for a budget amendment in the amount of $69,786 from fund balance, and that will go towards purchase of the bidirectional radio system to be installed at the Macon Middle School main building facility, as well as the Macon Middle School locker room complex.
So moved, Chairman.
I'll second it.
As well as the $69,786 also includes the consolidation of all change orders remaining at the Macon Middle School locker room complex.
And
Mo-
resolution
And resolution
of the
of the liquidated
liquidated
damages.
damage. There we go.
I mean, while we're in discussion, I feel like, maybe can you just let the public on what we're doing here? Maybe with the emergency event, maybe some of this stuff left out, but just
Absolutely.
give a brief description.
Sure. This project, we had some things from the get-go, such as, we had omitted from what went out on the plans, the low-voltage wiring that the architect had left out of the plans, and the building inspector, the contractor, you have to have that to move forward. So to get a certificate of occupancy. So at that time, we had to issue a change order of $90,000 to install that low voltage wiring because we had to have that. And in doing that, that ate up the majority of our $120,000 roundabout contingency for this project. I mean, we were pretty much hamstrung right there. And so the change orders that accrued following that were included in that total as well. A lot of those were in the normal course of doing business, but we would have come nowhere close to exceeding our contingency had we not had that major omission and error by the architect on this project. So we have worked to resolve that issue and consolidate at the same time. The project had gotten behind. There was some liquidated damages that had accrued. We were able to resolve those with the building contractor, and we were able to reach an agreement with the building contractor and the architect, which we basically negotiated all that down into that $69,786 number. For reference, the total cost of the installation of the bidirectional radio system, which also, again, was not told to us at the beginning of this project. And again, building contractor and architect, it goes back and forth. So to settle this and avoid litigation, we landed on this $69,786 number for everything. Just to give you some idea, the installation for the bidirectional radio system would have been $87,000 for the middle school as well as the locker room project. But again, we were able to package this deal together and get all that into that $69,786 number. So again, by no fault of anyone with Macon County or anybody on our team, we just got dealt a bad hand. It's one of those situations where you're stuck with an amount that if you want to go to litigation, you're going to end up spending more, and it's going to be a pointing finger contest and never going to be able really to get to the bottom of it. So we were happy to settle this. Anytime we exceed, I can't think of any times we've exceeded a contingency on a project, but when we do, it's something we do take seriously, and I know this board, as Commissioner Young alluded to, expects full explanation. So again, by no fault of our own, we're still thankful to get this resolved and thankful to turn over a first-class locker room facility there to those children at Macon Middle School. It's been a long time coming, and it'll feel good to do it.
We've had a motion, we've had a second, we've had discussion.
Again, the motion would be to appropriate $69,786 from fund balance. Lori has the accompanying budget amendment, and that would be for the installation of the bidirectional radio system at the Macon Middle School main building, as well as the Macon Middle School locker room complex, and additionally, to consolidate all the remaining change orders on the Macon Middle School project.
As presented.
That's the motion.
That's motion as presented. I second it. You made the motion, I second it. We had discussion, have a vote, all in agreement. 5-0. Now, let's see where we are. How are you, Dr. Thomas?
Doing very well, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Who's that fellow with you, Curtis?
I do have Curtis with me.
You can't go far without him when you get over here.
He's shadowing me or I'm
When you get over,
shadowing him.
when you get over here, I always see Curtis close to you, so that's a good thing.
Well, he's the man with the answers. I bring the solutions or the problems. There
All
we
right.
go. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Rowland and I had a discussion, and also Ms. Shields last week, about bringing the 3-1s for the funding that y'all approved. Thank you again on the previous meeting for the moving the projects forward of the Fire Rescue Training Center, and then also for the Grove Center expansion. I believe those 3-1s. That's our terminology in education, which is our construction project numbers. We call them 3-1s, and that's what, when you approve the allocations of the funds, we put them on the 3-1, we send them down to state, and then the state will approve them. Gives me great pleasure to let you know, because we were trying to fast-track this, that we did that last week after the meeting was approved of the funding. We fast-tracked those down. Those were approved, these 3-1s were approved at the state, at the system level last Friday, because that just incorporated some additional county funds. It didn't adjust any of the state budget funds from that standpoint. So they were able to check that box, they're approved, which gives us the opportunity to move forward with those projects. So we should be moving those out for bids here within the next, hopefully, 30 days, I would say. We just putting the RFPs together and going out that way. So that's where we're at with those. Mr. Rowland, I don't know if there's anything else you want.
No, I think that's
It doesn't
good.
take a vote or anything.
No,
It's
no,
just
I think
reporting out.
the board needs to formally approve each of them. And I think, just to draw note, of course, and it's included in the CIP, but when the Fire Rescue Training Center comes on, the additional operational cost is $69,991 that will be tied to that facility. That will be an ongoing cost. But again, we're getting the capital facility paid up front. This will not come into the budget until that facility has been constructed
Correct.
and is online. And it's something that has been in the CIP and that we've planned for.
Correct.
Just wanted to bring it back to your attention. But I think it would, if these have already been approved at the state level.
Yes. Because they were amendments to original
Right, that we
board
approved.
I just think we should,
approval.
just to be clean, I think we should approve the amended 3-1s, just for our records.
Approve it within a motion, is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah. Just, the first one would be for the fire safety training facility. For the Fire Rescue Training Center, we need a motion and a approval. And again, we've already did this last meeting. We've already approved the funds. This is just a formality.
Okay. Mr. Sherrill, you've been a fireman. You've been a part of this.
Yeah. No, I make a motion that we approve the ratification of revised 3-1 capital improvement project for Fire and Rescue Training Center as presented.
As a liaison to Southwestern Community College, I second.
Thank you.
Hey, let me ask while we're talking about this, what's the fee schedule associated with this fire training center? Let's just say Otto wants to come use it. Do they pay to use the?
No, there's not. Educational facility.
Do other counties pay when they come over here? So it's more or less no cost to anybody. State.
And then the junior firefighters through the high school that have the collaboration, they'll be able to come out and use that also at no cost. Yeah. It's a little bit different than the business world. Educational world is all. That's, we give things away. education.
If I may, the state legislators have deemed all public safety personnel fee exempt for tuition. And it's an investment in public safety for the state of North Carolina. Therefore, if we go over to AB Tech, we have that same luxury of being fee exempt at that college as well, or anywhere across the state. So McDowell has a large weekend fire school that they do every spring. I think it's in March, 2 or 3 day event. They have hundreds of firefighters from all over the state come in, and they're all fee exempt on that as well too. But it's just kind of a round robin of training that they can gain over a weekend's time, and we're just doing it at that. And while we have some, it's in our service area that come to that. Cherokee, Tribal comes over, Swain comes over for some different facility training. We try to do as much as we can in the county that they are, because it's hard for them to come over for some things just because they're out of their district. And like going to Nantahala would be very tough for them to come over and leave their district empty. And the same thing for Glenville Cashers and things of that nature. So we try to do as much as we can locally for them instead of having them, but the facility is available for them, and they get that luxury of including it on their ISO ratings when they're doing their inspections too. If that makes sense.
No, that's good. And, I mean, I'm gonna go off topic here, but it's okay. What about the indoor firing range? Are there fees associated with that?
It'll be used as an educational facility, because you have the liability and the extra use of anything coming out. So it'll be strictly used for the higher ed.
So our sheriff can book that anytime he wants to, along with our schools?
Yes.
Whatever we need.
Yes.
And I believe that's your, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's the first thing in our new business when we go to it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going off.
No, that's all right.
Get it
No,
all
I-
out.
no, yeah,
And then
yeah.
those fees associated with the maintenance, can we share those fees between the two buildings, or are they independent? Are they line items that you guys need per building, or is that something that we can kind of?
It's all the operational things that you use to include in the additional square footage that you're picking up. So if you have a gallon of whatever over here and you add another 3,000 square feet over here, you may need 2 gallons.
So you're saying there's a product or formula for square footage per
Yes.
maintenance that we have to
Yeah.
pay? Okay, that's-
And that's all part of the operational standpoint. And that's where you'll see the additional, either a full-time employee to help with that additional maintenance, cover that square footage, or a couple part-time employees to be able to work with that.
The last thing, is somebody staffing these buildings at all time, or they just book them and just use them as needed?
We would have someone there for oversight for any of it. So the current, anytime someone's gonna come use the burn building or the training grounds, we would have someone from SEC that would be there present.
I guess that's the direction of my question, is if we have somebody that comes in here from just say Oconee or Cherokee, and they don't leave it in the condition that,
Right.
ultimately it's ours, and it's our maintenance cost, I just wanna make sure that.
We have
Hey, the
oversight.
buck
we have
stops here,
oversight.
so-
We have complete oversight.
Yeah, we visited AB Tech's indoor range, which is very similar to the indoor range that we're looking at constructing. And they have someone that is their job, is to schedule and oversight for that. And they have very strict rules and regulations as far as who the instructors, because being a firearms instructor is a specialty in and of itself. So anyone just can't go in there and utilize the range unless they have that specialty. Same thing with their driver training facility. We don't just let someone go up there and use the track without that as well. That makes sense?
Curtis,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's ever been brought forward but how many courses are there to be a level 1 certified firefighter?
We're right now with the school, we got 3 blocks. It's gonna take about a year of that too. And the total hours is somewhere, is it, Larry may have 400, yeah.
470, I think.
Yeah, north of that.
So through this training facility, there are many certification abilities at that facility. Ladders.
Ventilation.
Ventilation, I mean, from air packs to, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Well, short of actually having a full-blown fire academy, this is an absolute wonderful training facility for, and ultimately, we save money by not sending these guys to AV Tech. I've spent many trips going across the mountain to these schools, and so we can keep our men and women right here in Macon County.
Yeah. And that was part of the investment of the fire apparatus that we have now to allow the departments to come in and not take apparatus out of their jurisdictions too. So that, if they have something go on, they can, we can still do the training. They're not having to remove as much apparatus as that too.
Okay, want to say thank you. Don't go too far.
No. We got two more.
On the old business, E,
We got a motion in a second.
The-
Need to vote.
we didn't vote.
Motion you
Yeah,
second.
we got it.
Vote. No discussion. Any more discussion than not? Let's vote. Raise your hand.
And moving to the second 3-1 is just reflective of no additional operating costs. It's reflective of only the capital commitment that the board made at the previous meeting. So that will just take a motion and a second to formally approve the 3-1 for the Grove Center expansion.
Chairman, at this time, I make the motion to ratify the 3-1 Grove Center expansion.
Second?
Mr. Antoine seconded.
Yeah.
Any further discussion or any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you, sir. Now we'll go to E, then we'll come back to you.
No E.
He was removed.
E's removed.
E's got
so we can go-
removed. Don't move. You're on next. All right, Mr. Antoine, what have we got here?
All right, new business A, discussion and consideration of Form 3-1 for indoor firing range. Mr. Don Thomas.
All right, on this one, I bring good news also, and then also need to request support of approving the 3-1. This is where we received $10 million in the last General Assembly through our friend, your friend, our state representative, Mr. Gillespie, worked hard for us as a region to get the $10 million put in an indoor firing range that will be used as an educational training facility regionally also, because I believe there's how many different departments, Curtis, that you use, that you train?
In the neighborhood of 30 to 40.
Yeah, they come in. So again, it'd be the same thing, fee exempt on that
And
also.
It's from state level too. It's not just county, city, and state level as well. Now, we do have some Forest Service that come, now they are not fee exempt in North Carolina, so they do have to pay a tuition when they come and utilize that too. So there are regulations for federal agencies that come in. And then National Guard, sometimes they will use facilities as well. And I don't know why the North Carolina National Guard is not, but they are not fee exempt.
No, I get
It's
it.
kind of odd on some of those things that you can do with that too.
So on this one, this is a new 3-1 for y'all to take a look at and consider. And then the reoccurring ongoing expense that there would be for cleanup and lead extraction, and there'll be a couple classrooms included in this building also, so there are some.
Mr. Antoine didn't tell you, but he's our liaison to our law enforcement.
Oh, okay,
And
there you
Yes,
go.
sir.
There you go.
So this is
Super.
exciting.
Nice.
Very grateful to Mr. Gillespie also working so hard to get those funds. That's a great deal amount.
Yeah, it's reassuring.
Yeah.
It is, but by the time you take off that construction fee and contingency fee and designer fee, that's the thing that I always think about. It's a lot of money, but by the time you take off everybody else's fee that you have to pay up front, you're probably only going to be left with between $7 and $8 million to actually.
Where will that be located?
It's going to be adjacent or right next to Curtis's BLET, right there. As you face the main building, it'll be to the left on that big parking lot on the corner. Right across from
Right
UPS.
across from UPS.
Yeah, that empty
Where the
empty
entry
lot
is.
right across from you.
That's the range, and how many classrooms?
Probably, I think it'll probably be a couple classrooms. And then you got your staging areas, and then you got a vault, and you got your gun safe, you got your ammunition safe, everything you have to put within that range area.
Awesome. And our local law enforcement actually have access to this
Yes,
out there.
yes.
That's awesome.
Oh, in a day and time where just carrying the badge is, it's not for the money. You know, we've got a world-class BLET program, thanks to that man right there and several others, but sitting here thinking how cool it's gonna be to have all this stuff in our backyard. I mean, yeah, it's gonna cost us, but think of what it's gonna save us for the men and women not to have to cross the mountain and pull out of our service territory with our trucks, and it's gonna be here, so. I just hope our sheriff utilizes this. I'd like to see, you know, a lot of our local resources use
You make it happen back there.
these fire departments and,
They will.
Yeah.
The one good thing with the indoor firing range, that too, is environmental impact that we're lessening by putting lead into the ground. And now the agencies are having to go with Dillsboro, which we're still gonna keep that range in operation. There's still a need for outdoor ranges, but it gives them an opportunity to lower down the amount of time when we're doing day qualification at night. We can finish with day, flip a switch, go into night. So we're gonna save a lot of training hours that we're sitting around waiting on it to get low light situations so that we can do night fire. And, you know,
really cool.
it'll be, you won't hear anything out there. And like I said, the environmental impact that we're gonna have of reducing lead into the ground and all those things too is gonna be amazing too.
So, no one from the general public is going to be allowed to use this facility,
No, sir.
such as concealed carry training? No? Okay. What kind of technology is going to be in this building at $10 million? I mean, what?
That's a great question. It's a great question. The ballistic protection for the range and the air handling system are two of the most high costs for that too, because based on the size of the range, we have to move so many cubic feet of air per second to keep the lead out of the air so that the shooters are not inhaling that and it's not contaminating. So there's a big filtration system with it, so that's a large part of it, of that HVAC system, that we can regulate the heat and air and then keep the air clean as well. And then there's the ballistic part of it, just where we can shoot anything from a handgun up to a rifle in that as well, that we have to have ballistic protection on the walls all around so that we're not endangering anybody too, and that it's all going downrange in a safe way too.
And that lead extractor at the back is another huge expense to be able to get that rather than digging it out of dirt and things of that nature, so it's.
And we can actually recycle that
Right.
lead too, which is another great asset to that too. When Jackson County put in the money to redo the firearms training facility in Dillsboro, it was a huge expense for us to get the lead out of there. And a lot of times the companies who will reuse the lead will come in and they'll pay back to it, but because we're in that good red clay, there's no money to be made and there's nothing. So we actually had to take the berm and wrap it up like a burrito and keep it on site and use it as a berm as far as protection and keep the range in operation to be good suitors. Now we've got a sand trap over there where we can mine that lead in the future. So for future generations, we're in a good place for that too.
Well, I'll have to say, when I got this agenda and I read that we're going to build a $10 million indoor range, I thought, who in the world has, this agenda is the first time that I've heard this. And I said, Mr. Shields, Chairman, what are you doing to me? We're going to spend $100 million here and $10 million there. But then, of course, researching
another McDonald's burger.
and then I found out the state was paying for this. And so,
Yeah, we recently had one of our recruits who works for the Sheriff's Department speak with the legislatures over during a lunch. And she was one of the class sergeants that we had. The one thing that it allows us to do is spend more time doing low-light training with the officers, because now if we go over to the range, and even Macon County small range over there, we'll do some daytime firing, then we just got to sit around and wait. And then when we start night firing, we have a cutoff time that we want to stop by 11, but because be good neighbors, you know, and then there's times that we don't want to. So by 10 o'clock, we're trying to wrap up so that we're out of there and not disruptive to the community and stuff like that. So this allows us to keep them in that training environment for a much longer time, and they were excited about it. I think the officers who know about it and have heard about it, they're excited about it because of the opportunities of low light, because they're working in those conditions. It may be sunny outside, but they may enter someone's house, they're in a low light situation. We never know what they're going to be in. So, you know, the opportunities are endless with that as well.
Well, all I can say is all of our men and women in uniform, regardless of what level of service that they deserve, and need the best facilities to protect themselves, our community, and our citizens. So,
Mr. Antoine's gonna make a motion. The reason John's gonna second it, because his son's in law enforcement.
So we're just making a motion to approve this?
Can I make a point real quick?
Yes.
I don't, and maybe this has been mentioned, but of course, thankfully, y'all got the $10 million grant for the state. But there will be, when it comes online, this board will be expected to, provide the operating costs, which are projected currently at $54,715 per year. So just wanted to make sure that was just out there in the open that,
No, that's,
yeah,
absolutely.
moving forward, of course, looks like it won't be operational till fiscal '27 maybe.
Yes,
Was in
yeah.
3-1.
Yeah.
So just understand by approving the 3-1, you are committing to,
The
future
maintenance,
boards
right.
to the
You
annual
have to
operating
run
cost.
again.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve 3-1 for the indoor firing range.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All? Make it up. You're too quick for me to my right.
Andy keeps that.
See, I'm blind in this eye, so I can't catch you.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate what you
Thank
do.
you.
Ms. Strickland? Let's see, who you?
Actually, going for,
What we got?
Jennifer Hall.
so next up, discussion and consideration of resolution in recognition of Macon County Crawford Senior Center. We have our wonderful Miss Jennifer Hollyfield.
Good evening.
Tell us about Friday before you leave.
Tell you about Friday. Okay, let me real quick tell you about Friday before I leave. Friday at 1 o'clock at the Senior Center, a representative from Congressman Edwards' office will be there presenting Macon County Senior Services, a flag that has been flown over the Capitol. We have got a nice front case already for it. We're going to be hanging that in our main lobby. Lake Silver from that office will be coming to present the flag. You guys are, of course, all invited to come be part of that presentation that we'll be having at the Senior Center.
That's at 1 o'clock on Friday?
1 o'clock. Yep, 1 o'clock on Friday. Good evening, and thanks for letting me come talk a few minutes. Hopefully it won't take but a couple minutes. You're going to hear me talk about our wonderful folks at the center called our volunteers. We have some of the best volunteers that you're going to find in Macon County, and hopefully with some of the numbers I'm going to run through, it's going to prove it to you. You got to forgive me, got to put on the glasses or I won't see my notes. In calendar year 2023, about 125 volunteers donated 5,004 hours to Macon County Senior Services. And we talked some about the independent sector with the Garden Club. At that rate that the independent sector gives for North Carolina, those hours are worth about $150,000 to Macon County that those 125 volunteers give us. There is no way with the staff that I have that I could do everything that those volunteers help us do. They are amazing. They do things from deliver meals to our homebound older adults. They lead a lot of our classes. They help with open enrollment for SHIP. They just do contribute lots and lots. I'm going to spend a few minutes going through the different
areas that they do help. And our volunteer, even though that 5,000 hours sounds like a lot, we are still rebuilding after that small thing called COVID that hit a few years ago. It did impact us, but we are greatly improving in our volunteer base. Who knows what SHIP stands for? You gotta be careful saying it too. Does anybody know? Gary, do you know what SHIP is?
It floats, I know that.
It floats. It is the State Senior Health Insurance Information Program.
Mr. Antoine should have known that.
That's our Medicare folks. Yeah, that's for those of you who may be at Medicare age. We have volunteers who help us with that. There are 4 ladies who help us with that every year. And those 4 ladies counseled over 445 folks in 2023. That amounted to about 768 hours that those 4 ladies contributed to help individuals understand Medicare. That's not including my 1 paid staff member who helps. That's all volunteer hours with that. When COVID, they were doing a lot of that by phone. We've now got them back in the building, and they're doing a lot of their counseling right there in the senior center. Our activities volunteers, wow, they stepped it up this year. Our activities volunteers contributed right at 1,500 hours in 2023. We had over 14,000 duplicated participants in our different classes in 2023. They lead classes ranging from dance class to Tai Chi to arts and crafts. We do have 1 volunteer. She's pretty amazing. She was with us in Franklin several years ago, and she led yoga classes for us. Well, she moved off to Arkansas. She was there maybe 2 months and called us, and this was when Zoom was getting started, and she said, I miss teaching my class. Can I teach it from Zoom from Arkansas? Sure, we can make that happen. So she's been teaching. She taught for probably a good year from Arkansas. Then her husband got a job in Italy. So she moved to Italy. Guess what? She's still teaching a Zoom yoga class for us all the way from Italy. There's about a 6-hour time difference, so we have our yoga class at 10 in the morning here. It's 4 in the afternoon there, but she is so committed to teaching those classes, she teaches for us all the way from Italy. She won't make our volunteer banquet, by the way, in April, but she is just amazing. Our home-delivered meal volunteers remain strong. Those volunteers contributed almost 2,700 hours in 2023. They delivered just over 11,000 hot meals to 70 homebound seniors in Macon County in both Highlands and Franklin. In addition, we served about 10,000 hot meals to 266 different congregant participants in our dining room. One of our areas that's really starting to grow is our adult day program with volunteers. Now that we have reopened back to participants, our volunteers, we were kind of slow on letting volunteers come back in there because those folks are usually our most fragile of our older adults that come to the center. So we were slow bringing them back, but they have now started coming back. And they are playing music for our folks in adult day. They help them with lunch. They do story time. Sometimes it's just simply spending time with those older adults, building puzzles. We have some that love to work on puzzles. And just so you got some numbers on adult day, in 2023, we had over 2,200 duplicated participants in our adult day program. Our volunteers, the range is incredible. We have volunteers aged 24 to 92. You heard me, 92. And that volunteer can run circles around a whole lot of us. We have several in their early 90s who are delivering meals. Many times the volunteers are delivering meals to folks who are younger than they are. The bulk of our volunteers are in their 70s and 80s out there delivering those meals. There is not enough I can say about them. They are amazing. Their commitment is fabulous. They meet a lot of needs in our community that otherwise would go unmet. My role has been blessed by those volunteers. It's great every chance I can get out to speak to those volunteers, especially the home delivered meals. It's just it is just an honor on my part to get to thank them. I would like to ask you folks to adopt a resolution recognizing those volunteers April 21st through 27th as Macon County Volunteer Week. I think there's already a resolution in your packets. There's also an invitation for each of you in your packet to our volunteer appreciation event that we will be holding on Tuesday, April 23rd at 4 o'clock there at the center. It is an opportunity for us to thank those volunteers for all they do for our older adults in the community. Any questions that you may have about the volunteers?
Nope, just want to say thank you to these volunteers, and I think it's awesome that you guys do that appreciation day for them, because I was not aware of just how much time these people devote to go in there. And our seniors are we got such an awesome group of seniors.
You got to experience them the other week.
I had a good time with y'all. It was good, it was good. So, am I making a motion to approve this? All right, at this time, gentlemen, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution in recognition of Macon County Crawford Senior Center volunteers.
I'll second that motion.
They're priceless.
They are.
They are. Any more discussion?
Now, the only thing that, I had no clue what happens at the Senior Service Center. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And those seniors are, I've said it to you before, are dear to my heart. And the work that y'all do with those and the offerings. I'm just grateful for all the volunteers and the work that you guys do.
Thank you.
To,
And
They're very
even the
dedicated
stuff
paid
you don't
staff.
see, I mean, they deliver meals all over this county.
They do.
All over this county, and I think that's probably the highlight of a lot of folks in this county's day.
Absolutely.
And,
They go
and a
from-
lot of it's not even about the food, it's the interaction.
It's the person.
You know?
Because they go all the way from Swain County down the Georgia Road, out the Highlands Road, into Highlands, Scaly. They cover pretty well all of Macon County putting hot meals. Nantahala a little challenge because you can't maintain food temps to get to Nantahala, but we're trying to come up with some solutions for
That's when you pack
Nantahala.
them with peanut butter and jelly.
Well, but then that doesn't meet our nutrition guidelines for the money we get paid for. So we've tried, we've thought.
Call for vote.
All in favor of the vote? Right-handed.
Thank you.
And
Hope to
also
see you
just
guys
so-
on the 23rd of April.
Yes. Also, just want to let you know, still working on the new senior center for you guys.
Great.
I know that's a massive need, so I've been talking to Derek a lot about this, so we're working on it. I
And we
promise.
had issues even just yesterday that
Yeah.
he may not have even got a chance to update you about. So,
No way.
all right, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Go
Jennifer.
ahead, I'll be back.
Give us 5. Or you want to continue on, or you want to wait till he comes back to the bathroom? We can continue, unless somebody else is in emergency state.
You're the boss.
Hey, continue. Come here, Miss Strickland. We can't have you laying out anymore. We'll miss you after a while. Let me ask you a question, Miss Strickland.
Yes, sir.
What does SHIP mean?
Senior health
All right.
insurance plan.
Information program.
All
Yes.
right. Senior health information,
Program.
information. You better be ready. I'm gonna give you a test
Hey,
next month.
stop it.
I feel like I better write it down. I didn't write it down.
Yes, it's in their agenda packet.
Okay, where we at, Mr. Antoine?
New business C.
Yes.
New business 2, or C. Let's see. We want to have a pulse feel here.
Are we ready?
I guess,
Ready?
yeah.
We're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for having me tonight. Over the last 3 years, we've been working to bolster career and technical education program in Macon County schools. And in just those 3 short years, we've increased pathways for students from 8 to 20. And next year, we are planning to open the school year with 23 pathways. And we're adding in Adobe Academy, Cosmetology, and the Firefighter Academy that you heard earlier in this meeting. So this year, our students are going to earn over 1,000 industry-recognized credentials, and that includes CNA, CCMA, which is Certified Medical Assistant, EMT, and 911 dispatch. So when we're looking at the pathways that we're offering for students and the credentials that they're earning, it seems like the next logical step is to build our program in a more robust way. So we're really wide with what we're doing. So now we got to get it deeper for our students. And so working in collaboration with our county manager, Derek Rowland, Sheriff Brent Holbrooks, and the Director of Emergency Medical Services, Warren Cabe, we've developed a work-based learning program that our students have named the Panther Pulse. And so the Panther Pulse stands for Panther Unified Learning Skills Exchange. And our students in Mr. Pickens' public safety class have designed a logo, which you see on the front of this page that has like the heartbeat, the pulse, and then a panther head. And they have ordered shirts, and that's on the front of the shirt. And on the side of the shirt, they've also developed a badge that goes on the sleeve. So that's a whole thing in public safety, firefighter. When you go to other precincts, you share the badges around. The patches. Yes, the patches. So the Panther Pulse will allow seniors who have completed public safety courses the opportunity to intern in various county departments where they will be involved in real-world, hands-on learning, instilling a sincere gratitude towards civic duty, so a call of duty towards civic service. Students will also have the opportunity to job shadow while they're enrolled in the public safety classes, where they're learning about the various parts of public safety. So this opportunity is only available due to the unwavering commitment of the school board and the Macon County commissioners in Macon County in creating career-ready students. It's because of the collaboration that we have that we could put a program together like this. And as I've said many times before, the reason why we can offer 23 pathways and get over 1,000 credentials is because of the talent of our teachers. And this program is no exception. Mr. Larry Pickens was willing to earn additional certification so that we could offer this course. And he also gave up his planning period as well. Thanks to the additional funding that you all approved last year to be able to add this additional course and the collaboration with the school board, we're able to make this happen for our community. So Mr. Pickens is here. He didn't want to come up here, but I would love to be able to let him have an opportunity to tell you about the qualifications his students are earning that makes them eligible to be able to come out and do an internship of this nature in the first place.
Mr. Pickens, come on up here.
Do you want to talk a little bit?
I thought you said he was going to sing. I thought she said he was going to sing.
No singing.
He can sing. I do sing, but I shouldn't.
This has been a vision that we had, and I contacted Derek, I contacted Brent, and Warren. We want to put these kids in the environment where they want to go to work at. We've got one right now that's an internship at the jail every morning from 8 to 10, and then he comes on to school that morning. Dave was more than willing to accept these kids in. Jonathan, I think you said like 7 departments inside the sheriff's department that they was willing to put these kids in, and Warren's got that. They're going to work with the fire marshal, squad 4, just a bunch of different positions, not only in the firefighting. We left it at the county level. Hopefully we can tie the town in a little bit later. We went to McDowell County a couple months ago. They are actually having students do ride-alongs at the city of Asheville on 24-hour shifts in the fire department. So we got to get that excitement, that interest generated somewhere. We think this is the place to do it. We also kicked around, and hopefully in a year or two, some of the carpentry students coming in and doing some stuff with maintenance, county maintenance, and that type of stuff, if we can get this to working.
Clock tower?
Flowing through. Do what?
Clock tower?
But actually, like, these kids will leave my class at 1:30, and they've all agreed to stay till like 5 o'clock of a day. So it's not an hour and a half class. They're going to stay with these till these
You think this would pick up some interest in some of our volunteer fire departments?
We hope so, and we will know next week. Enrollment registration's been this week for juniors. We're gonna know about the fire academy. Those 470 hours we were talking about a while ago, those kids will leave in July with those hours in. And they will be ready to go. I know Clark's Chapel's advertising, the county's got, I think Warren's got 2 with Squad 4 positions open.
Awesome.
2 or 3, 4 kids interviewed this past month from the first EMT class that we done at the high school this year, so with Macon County. One thing you mentioned about classes being available in Macon County with Southwestern and that stuff is you get first shot at hand-picking these kids.
Awesome.
My son is enrolled in a paramedic program in Cherokee right now, and they're already recruiting those. So it's out there. If you're not in the recruiting business here in Macon County, you're gonna lose them to the other counties. So that's very important.
And this is, with what, like we talked about, what we face here, this is something that, I commend you all so much for putting this together and coming to us, because from a county standpoint, this is a tremendous setup for us, because like you said, what a better feeder program.
Right.
Kids born and raised here, go to school here, want to stay here, and this gives them an opportunity to do that. So this is things that really matter.
Well, and if they're doing an internship with them, say at the dispatch office,
right,
they know if they want to hire them.
Right.
It's an
That
interview.
time
It
has
is an
already been
interview.
spent.
That's a good point.
That time, they've had their training session. Hey, this kid was here every day on time. We need them, they seem really interested, they're gonna be a dedicated employee, or there's no need for him to turn his application in. And it saves everybody time. So, that's what we're looking for, but hopefully it goes back to generating for the volunteer fire departments also, even if they can't get a career in it, because, but they're wide open right now. Asheville back is hiring like crazy for the firefighters.
It also serves another purpose too. At Franklin High School last school year, we had almost 54 students who were early grads. And some of those students had plans to enroll or enlist, but some of those students did not. And they also weren't employed. And so they had nothing that they were doing for the second semester. So this gives them an opportunity to be involved with something and be under the mentorship of a professional where they could be inspired to move towards something else. And so that's a really great plus for those kids, that they have something that they are looking forward to being a part of. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Can we go ahead
Thank you,
and
guys.
request a motion?
Yep, let me make a motion. I'd like to make a motion at this time that we approve Pulse, Panther Unified Learning and Skills Exchange.
As a liaison to the Board of Education, I second.
Before we get too far discussion, you have to help explain something to me. I understand welding and shop and firefighting and all, but how does cosmetology come into play here in our economics, and what's a career field in cosmetology?
Well, this is very new. So when you look, I brought you our new course catalog. It's not included in there. But we have been meeting with our seniors, and we had about 15 students who said that they'd like to pursue cosmetology.
I don't even know what it is.
Like nails, hair, makeup, eyebrows, yeah, pedicures, yeah.
Enough said, okay.
Yeah. All of that.
They should have said,
No wonder we didn't know.
I'm assuming you're married. You get a cosmetology bill every month, I'm sure.
That was a bad question, but hey.
So the kids want to do hair, nails, they want to do like facials, all of that kind of stuff.
All those things you're missing.
I ain't missing them.
One of the things that's a little bit tricky with that is that it's only offered at Southwestern and the Silva campus, because you have to have like sinks and drains and all of those kind of things. So it'll be available to those kids who are second semester, who would be early grads. So instead of being early grads and not having anything, they'll need to drive over to the Silva campus from 8 to 3. And then we'll cover their kits for them. It's almost $2,500 to have that kit, and their whole tuition is free. And so instead of being an early grad and being at home, they will be at Southwestern, and they will be graduating with whatever it is with cosmetology, whether it's hair, nails, whatever. So it'll be a really great benefit for them to be able to do that. But it is a barrier because they do have to travel. So they need gas money and transportation. So that's something that we're working on to make sure that doesn't deter a kid from being able to do it. Because they shouldn't not be able to take the class because they can't get over there. So we're working on that.
The nice thing about that is, though, is the Career and College Promise. It's free for them. They don't pay any tuition to Southwestern as long as they're enrolled in high school.
Right. So otherwise, so if they decide to do this after they graduate, that's $14,000. They do it now,
That much of it's
they
free.
have to pay for gas and transportation. So a couple of things about the course catalog. And the front cover, there's a QR code there. If you scan that, you can be my Facebook friend for CTE. I'm trying to get 500 followers. And then on the back cover too, if you haven't seen our promotional video, scan that. You'll love it. It's 1.5 minutes. It's all featuring all of our students out at Angel Medical, out at the airport, and Mr. Pickens' welding class. And it's talking about what they aspire to be. So make sure to check that out. You're just gonna love it. I just know you are.
And on page 25,
Page 25.
if you are asked what fine arts involved in, go to page 25. You can read about fine arts and the importance of it with our students. I believe you're going from 25 to 29. If you need to have a conversation with somebody, the importance of fine arts, you can see it right here within these few pages. And me looking at this, some of the courses are honors courses.
Yes.
This is real, it's really, really good. But
Yes.
sometimes you get asked about fine arts, what are those programs? And people say music and band or somewhere like that. No, you can open up to page 25 to 29 and you can see the value of the fine arts program.
That's right. And thank you for pointing that out. So this is all electives. So because it's important for kids to be able to have all of these options. It's amazing the options that are available to kids in Macon County. I'm really impressed with it. Thank you. So now you must know that the teachers at the other content area said, well, why aren't our classes in this booklet? So next year when you come, I'll hand you like a phone book. So, so it's a great thing that they're proud of the classes that are available.
You just pointed out that page because you wanted us to look at the page before the celebrities here in this picture.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's at the airport, yes.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot to tell you, all are
Slip
invited next Friday, the 22nd, to the airport. The aviation kids will be having their second in-air flight time. So they should be there about 10 a.m. and stay till about 2 if you want to pop in and see what's going on. You'll love it. So.
Mr. Higdon, you're number D.
Hey, hold on.
Wait a minute, we got a motion and a second.
Oh, we hadn't done all that stuff yet? Discussion? All in favor? Right hand? All right, good.
Thank you.
I forget where we're going. All right, now, is Jeff Lee still living here, Paul? Is he still here?
Now we get to talk about my favorite subject, which is broadband. I hope y'all are as excited as I am. Come on. There we go. So tonight I'd like to talk to the board about kind of bring up to speed as to what's going on within the county. We've got a number of broadband programs going on. And then we'd also like to ask the board for a commitment so that we can participate in an upcoming grant program, which I'm going to go into. Let's see here. Oops. Let's start here. First place I'd like to talk about is Nantahala, and this is a project that that you all approved last fall. The Nantahala project was one where the county is procuring connectivity to 5 county facilities in the Nantahala Lake area. The volunteer fire substation, the new Nantahala Library and Community Center, the main volunteer fire and rescue facility, the EMS facility, and then also the recreation center. And so that project actually kicked off at the first of the year. And we have certainly been making some progress. Balsam West is underway building fiber. And the process they're going through in this area is they are actually stringing steel strand cable from pole to pole. And then they will come back and attach the fiber to that steel strand. And so they're about 50% now done with the putting the steel cable up. And they've just begun on the fiber, actually down on the Junaluska Road area, starting at the rec center and then working their way back up towards the school. They have revised their target completion to the 1st of June. They were hoping to actually finish by the end of April, 1st of May, but due to permitting and weather delays, they're pushing that out just a little bit, but they are working. One of the reasons they're starting from the Junaluska end and going back up is because they need to install some equipment at Nantahala School. And so they actually made the request the end of last year for them to locate a pad and some equipment there at the school. We all met out there, including Commissioner Higdon, and talked about what they wanted to do. They then prepared a proposal, and that was presented to the Macon County School Board on the 19th of February. And thanks, Mr. Ridenour and Mr. Rowland, who's out, we got that agreement executed last week. So Balsam West is busy working on getting ready to construct that pad. Of course, the project is to provide connectivity to these 5 facilities, but and of course, that's going to provide connectivity for the occupants of those facilities, the fire department, the EMS, the library, of course. But the other aspect in the community, due to the lack of connectivity in the community in general, is public Wi-Fi. And so what we were able to do is procure a grant through Southwestern Commission. And this is a $50,000 grant that is paying for the equipment and the installation of not only the network equipment to support the public Wi-Fi, but also the electrical hookups and that type of thing. And so we were able to identify the network and electrical contractors. We've gotten most of the installation work completed, with the exception of the library. Library is still in progress, and we're hoping to finish coordinating with Fontana IT department to get the rest of the network stuff installed at the library. And then once the fiber's connected at the buildings, we'll configure and test everything. So we're moving right along. Moving across the mountain, we've got a number of other grant programs that are in process. We've got the Frontier Great Grant, and just to remind everybody, that is a $3.8 million grant within the county. It's a $4.3 million project. Frontier has completed their engineering work. Their permitting is in progress. They are working on 2, what they refer to as wire centers. It's the head end. This is where the fiber terminates to go out into the community. And so they're working on 2 different facilities, the construction of them within the county. They've got all the materials arriving and staging, and they're working to secure a subcontractor to start building fiber. So we'll talk a little bit about where that's going to impact the county here in a minute. Balsam West also has a grant, and they are busy. This is a $1 million grant, just under $1 million. It's a total of $1.2 million project, and that will serve parts of South Macon. And they're currently in the engineering development and permitting process on that project. And then, of course, we have the Charter Rural Digital Opportunity Fund subsidy that's supposed to come into our area. That will be a $9 million subsidy coming into, to help build this fiber in the county, but we don't have any updates from Charter yet as to when they're going to be here. We hope they're here by mid-year. It may be towards the end of the year, but we're hoping they're going to cross the mountain soon. They're currently working in Jackson County. Moving on to this map of the county, I wanted to kind of illustrate what areas are being impacted by these grants. So if you look at this, at the map of Macon County here, you see a line in red down towards the south end of Macon. That is the area where the county invested in the South Macon fiber backbone. It was $580,000 that the county invested in that project to build some infrastructure in the south end of the county. The green line area up in the Nantahala region is the area that will be impacted by the $350,000 investment that Macon's making to connect the facilities up there. That will also impact the residents along those paths, so that corridor that the fiber passes through. The areas in blue, the bright blue here, this is the area that will be, these are the areas that will be impacted by the GREAT grant to Frontier. And it's kind of spread all around the county. There's parts up in the Burningtown area, up in the northern part of the county, a little bit up 28, Addington, down in just north of Otto, and other areas. And then there's a couple of other areas down in South Macon, one in Otto and a couple of blocks in Scaly Mountain in yellow. Those will be the areas that are impacted by the GREAT grant that Balsam West is receiving. And that tan area that we keep referring to, and we brought this up many times, those are the areas that will be impacted by this charter subsidy that will be coming into the area soon, we hope. But you see, there's a lot of other areas that we're not impacting yet through grant fundings, and this is what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about tonight. There's a new program that the state is finally rolling out. They've been talking about it for a while, and it's referred to as the CAB grant program. And CAB stands for Continuing Access to Broadband. And so the idea behind this program is to follow on to their GREAT grant program and to try to pick up areas that have not been affected by the GREAT grant. And they kicked off this program at the first of the year. And one of the things that's different about this program than the GREAT grant program, GREAT grant providers actually decided what they wanted to do. They put a proposal together, and then they put those applications in to the state, and hopefully they would win based on a scoring criteria. This particular grant program is different in that the county collaborates with the state. NCDIT is the North Carolina Department of Information Technology, and they administer all the broadband grant programs for the state. And so in this case, Macon County will collaborate directly with NCDIT to identify the project areas that we want to work on. And once we've done that, that'll be developed into a request for proposals and posted on a state website. And then qualified providers that have been pre-qualified with the state can go respond and compete for that project, or those projects around the state. And then once responders send their proposals in, then the county will sit down with the state, representatives from the state will review those proposals and select a provider. This grant program provides a maximum of $8 million, and that's the grant itself per county per year. That grant can only be 75% of the total project cost. There's a 15% provider match as part of the total project cost, and then the county is obligated for 10% of the total project cost. In order for us to participate in this process, we've got a couple of things that we've got to do. We've got to go through and we've got to review all areas that are eligible. We've got to select priority areas that we want to focus on out of those that are eligible. Then we have to work with the state in order to develop this request for proposals. There's total of about 2,600 locations around the county that are eligible for this grant fund. And so we would love to hit as many of those as we can.
Do you have a picture of that? It's got the 2,600.
I'm going to show a picture here in just a minute.
Okay,
But we can go ahead and go to that right now so we can be looking at that picture.
those little green dots.
And this is that same map I showed you before, but all of the green dots scattered throughout these other areas are ones that have not been affected by another grant program. And so those are all dots or locations that are eligible to receive funding as part of this program. We want to hit as many of those as we can. We're hoping to hit a project of around 1,000 to 1,200 locations. A maximum grant for our county would be $10,670,000, and it could serve, based on some of our estimates, could serve about 2,100 locations. Where there's no way we can hit all of them in a single calendar year, but we want to hit as many as possible. So, so we're kind of projecting that the project would be of a medium size. It would be potentially up to $6 million based on that 1,200 locations we think we might be able to hit. And that's based on some groupings that we've looked at. We're making an estimate at the moment of about $5,000 per passing, per home, per location. And that's based on what we saw out of the Great Grant Program. And so that yields a project of about $6 million for those 1,200 locations. The actual project could be a little smaller, it could be a little bigger, depending on what the state requires us to do and also what the final cost estimates are. In order for us to enter into this program, the county must provide a formal match commitment, okay? We have to basically tell the state that we are willing to commit X amount of funds to go after this grant money. And of course, we can't really participate with the state until we've made that commitment to the state. They only want to work with counties that are able to make that commitment. So what we're asking for tonight is we're asking for the board to approve a match commitment. The match commitment we would like to see is we would like to see a match commitment that would allow us to take advantage of a full $8 million grant. And that match commitment would be $1,067,000. If that would be 10% of a full match, or of a full grant, if we were to receive that. You know, the match commitment can be less. For example, an $800K commitment could support an $8 million project. So, you know, we could do less than that. We don't anticipate it's going to be a full project, but we would like to have the opportunity to go after it if we can. And then, of course, the funds are only utilized if the grant's awarded. If we were able to select a provider, we have a provider that actually bids on the project and once the final grant agreement's executed. So that's kind of what we're looking for here tonight, is we would like to participate in this grant program. We have the opportunity to bring up to $10 million into the, or at least an $8 million grant into the county, and a 15% match, of course, of that would be from the provider itself.
And the wording on that is commitment is.
We need to basically create a letter of commitment. There's a form that the state has that, and once the board agrees that we're willing to make that commitment, we'll complete that form and send that into the state so that we can begin working with them to develop this grant
Also
program.
included in your agenda packet following Mr. Lee's presentation, when we talk about funding, of that, you know, we have recommended here $396,425. Lori's put together a grant project ordinance amendment for the American Rescue Plan Act funding that we received. We'll have we're projecting around $396,425 that's left over after the ARPA funds have been used for the premium pay. And so utilizing that would bring the general fund amount needed for this commitment down by $396,425. I just wanted to draw your attention to that And to do that, we would basically use that $396,425 for revenue replacement. And same way we did with the premium pay, and then it would go towards that $1,067,000. It would go towards that. So the balance of that would be what would be required for the
$670,575.
would be required from the general fund.
And that's an $8 million.
That would allow us to leverage full $8 million project.
An $8 million grant.
Grant.
So the full project would end up, could be up to $10,670,000.
How much of that out of the fund balance?
670,575. So $670,575. Jeff, I did have a question. Sorry.
Yes,
I
go ahead.
wanted to talk to you before the meeting, but I didn't get a chance. Do we anticipate we would have a commitment on this grant by December 31st of this year, that we would know or have any?
So
idea?
the state is quite antsy to move these funds. They have to have all the funds committed before the end of this calendar year.
Same thing with our art
Same
money.
thing with our ARPA funds, yes.
Our art money.
So what the state is pushing for is the state would like to see as many projects actually go to agreement before the end of this fiscal year, if possible. They already have 30 counties that have signed their commitment out of 100 counties.
Okay. And then we could spend our at least $396,425 of our money by December 31st, 2026, no problem.
Absolutely.
Because that's another contingency of our
Yeah.
ARPA. We must have it spent by then.
Yeah, and the way this particular program works is once the project goes to agreement, which means it's been approved by the county, it's been approved by the state, and all parties have signed the agreement, then the county would give the funds directly to the state immediately in full, instead of a 50-50 like we did with some of the other grant programs. And then the state would manage all finances from there on out.
Okay.
So as far as the county is concerned, it's out of the
It's
county's
automatically
hands.
gone. Okay,
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
great.
Can you go back again to that map?
Sure, absolutely.
That, what you have to realize here, when you look at this map, you can see that we're doing a lot of stuff with the state grants. But now, all this, I'm gonna call it yellow, or the color of that door over there, it's on this map. That's charter, and people, that's federal. This thing.
Yeah,
Jeff,
we're,
elaborate.
we're not allowed to touch those areas because it's a federal grant program. There is language in the U.S. Treasury rules and also in subsequent federal programs that say funds can't be used in two places, in one place from two different funds. So because there's funding from this federal program for these tan areas, we can't use any of the state grant funding for them. And there's actually state legislation that keeps us from going into those areas. So because of that constraint, we're trying to focus on what we can address at this point in time. And all of these green dots here, there's a big cluster around Sanderstown, Addington Mill, Ellijay area, north of Highlands, south of Highlands, and through Otto. So our job is to prioritize these areas and try to impact as many as we can using these grant funds. That's been our task.
And the yellow area there, it makes all of us on the broadband, we're nervous about that.
It does, because there's no guarantee that they will finish that project. We're certain that they will come into the county. We don't know how much they'll actually build out. And they have ways to wiggle out of getting some of those things done. They're certainly committed at this time to do it, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I am
And what
originally from
happens
Missouri.
If they back out, what happens? What do we do if they back out and all of a sudden you got all this?
This is a big conundrum right now across all the state programs because the federal programs have a very long cycle. They don't have to have that built out till 2028. And all of these grant programs at the state level are a much shorter term program. And a lot of the funds that they're using in these state programs will be exhausted by 2028. And so if Charter decides to come in and just build out in a few places and then they walk away and are able to get out of it, then we're left with areas that are very remote that are difficult for us to hit. So it's a problem, and everyone nationwide is aware of this issue, and there's a lot of things that are in the works at the moment to try to address some of these things, but there's nothing we can do about it.
That's why it's so
At this point in
important
time.
that we get this commitment now, so we can act on their.
Absolutely.
Because if
There-
you delay it,
There will be subsequent money in coming years that will actually be funded through the state, through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Bill. That money won't start coming into these programs until probably the 2025 timeframe. So we want to be able to take advantage of the funds that are available today
Right.
so that if we have new problems to tackle tomorrow, we can go do that.
Mr. Higdon, you're on this committee. What about our commitment?
I was just letting y'all talk. This really should be probably a two-part motion, is are we committed to proceeding as a board with broadband in Macon County? And we've done two projects, Scaly, Otto, and then Nantahala, worked out good. We've had nearly $1 million investment there of taxpayer money. And we'll end up committing another $1,067,000 to go after $1 million in grants to do what you've suggested. So I'll make a motion that we commit to pursuing the CAB grant.
We got a motion, is there a second?
Mr. Sorry, go ahead. Mr. Higdon, does your motion include the grant project ordinance and then the general fund appropriation as well?
However you can find it.
Okay. So just for the record, let's be sure. So you need the letter of commitment, correct? So the letter of commitment would commit Macon County to $1,067,000 of match, correct?
Correct.
The second part of that would be to approve the ARP grant project ordinance amendment that was within your agenda packet. Then the third part would be appropriate $670,575 from general fund balance as part of this grant match. Is what I just said okay? Is
That's good.
your substitute of motion?
You found it.
Okay. I just want to make sure we cover all pieces.
And I second the motion.
Any further discussion?
I feel like I need to bring up a few issues that really kind of jump out at me, and it's nothing personal for you or even your motion, Mr. Higdon, but, and I know you've put a lot of time in this, so don't take this the wrong way, but I'm probably going to throw you a curveball. I'm under the impression this is really going to provide internet and cell coverage to parts of the community that really don't have it. Like looking at this map, I feel like that's more or less where we already have it. You know, we drive to Scaly Mountain, Highlands. I mean, you probably don't have internet service at your house or cell phone service. You know.
Not hardline service, that's correct.
And it's Nantahala, but, you know, Balsam called me whenever we provided the 441 access, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I don't want to misquote them, but I remember a number of around $300 and something a month for my business.
For business service.
Yeah, to hook up, and I'm sitting here thinking that we're paying taxpayer dollars, grant funds, for one company to be able to run around and collect these fees every month. I have a little bit of heartburn because I feel like the intent for me is to be able to bring cell coverage to Nantahala and to bring cell coverage to Middle Creek and Otto and Tessany and Scaly. And looking at this map, and I feel like these green dots are all in those concentrated areas that for the most part already have that service. And I don't, you know, I feel like maybe I don't have a clear understanding, but like right now for me, another $1 million out of budget, I'm having a little bit of anxiety. I would probably support this after this budget session and the Parks and Rec stuff, the school stuff coming up. But for me to pay $300 a month, I went and got Starlink. And that's what we have. And that's cheap, easy. I have everything I need. And I'm pretty simple. I mean, you can probably put that together, but.
I'd be happy to address a couple of those things if I could. So one of the things that the county has done is the county didn't pay for the project, for example, in South Macon that brought the fiber by your business. What the county did is they paid for a little piece of that project. That project probably costs on the order of about $1 million, $1.2 million to run that fiber all the way from the south end of the city limits of Franklin down to Otto, connect up through the Tessantee Valley all the way up to Scaly, and it also goes up to the city limits of Highlands. So that was a big project to affect a large area. Okay, so number one. And a lot of that investment came from Balsam West. There was also investment from Haywood EMC on that project. And so it was a collaboration, and the county did pay for a piece of it, absolutely. So this was service that didn't exist before, and so it also cost money to provide that service. So what you were being asked for was you were being asked for service fees to connect to it. And any provider who gets grant money, that would include Frontier, Charter when they come in. There's other providers in the county as well. They all have to make a business case, and they all have to make the subscriber fees, monthly fees, pay for the maintenance and upkeep of those facilities that they're putting in. So we're helping to defray some of the infrastructure costs through these grants. We're helping to get that fiber put in. We're helping to get some of these other things done. There's fiber going to a cell tower that's in that valley, that brand new cell tower. And Balsam's putting that in. But they have to keep the business running, so they have to pay for all the equipment that light up that fiber. They have to, at the end of the day, all businesses have to make a profit to stay in business. So all the companies, Frontier included, Charter, they're all in it for a profit. And in these rural areas where it's so expensive per location to serve, the grant money, the Kickstart exercises that we've done at the county level, it was a grant in South Macon, it was a procurement in Nantahala. That helps to defer some of the infrastructure costs. It doesn't pay for it all, but it helps. And it helps, otherwise there's no business case for these companies to go in the area. As far as the areas that don't need it, even though you see there's areas with a lot of coverage in the middle and around Franklin, that doesn't mean that everybody is served or can be served. And so the way these locations are determined is these locations are reported with no service. They're not being served by any company at all. They may get cell service, but they may not have hardline service. This particular grant, as were the great grants, are for hardline or fixed wireless type direct internet service, not cell service. None of these grant programs are for cellular. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Well, I mean, I understand. Again, to me, it's just hard. Maybe it's more of a philosophical issue that I have with the fundamentals. But thank you.
And I'd be happy to talk to you more about it at length at another time.
And I think we're a wide open space too, so it's really hard to provide the service when you're that open. If you're in a city or something, everything gets condensed.
It's the lack of density in our rural areas, density of customers. And so, just for example, within a 12-mile stretch of road, or a 1-mile stretch of road, to build a mile of fiber or whatever, nobody builds cable anymore for new installations, but for a mile of fiber, a company has to have at least 12 customers along that mile to pay.
Well, I mean, I understand. I mean, I ran fiber with the power company for almost 10 years, and it's really, you piggyback on poles. We built transmission lines with it, and I feel like they don't have to put their own infrastructure in. They can piggyback, pay a lease just like the phone company does. But neither here nor there. Like I said, I just wanted to share with you my issues.
Okay, I forget where we are. Did we all?
Yeah, motion second.
Second, now we've had the discussion, and now all in favor of this commitment, raise your right hand. I can't see on this left eye, I'm telling you. All right, Okay,
All opposed?
what was it?
We had
I'm a
4.
4-1. I'm
Oh, we
opposed.
did, okay, all opposed? One, okay.
Nothing personal. Thank you for your time.
Understand?
Thank you, Jeff.
If it wasn't $300 a month for me, I could probably buy into it, but.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Jim, appreciate what you do. Let's see, Mr. Owens, the next one, you, E.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to provide an update. As you'll recall, this board issued a request for qualifications for the construction manager at risk services for the Franklin High School project. We issued that in February. We received responses to that from 3 construction manager at risk contracting firms. On March 6th of 2024, the selection committee that was established for that project consisted of the liaison committee, so that would be Chairman Shields, Vice Chairman Young, as well as school board members. We have Ms. Breeden with us here tonight, as well as Chairman Jim Breelove was on the selection committee. The first order of business, once the requests for qualifications were received, we received 3 responses, one from Vinoy Construction, one from Carol Daniel Construction, and one from Batson Cook Construction. The first order of business was for the selection committee using a set of predetermined criteria that was developed from our RFQ. This contained things such as general company information, things like licensing information for the company, their corporate history, their organizational structure, their years of service, any current projects they had going, any litigation they had ongoing. Each of those under the general company information heading were assigned a value. That combined with project experience. So each one of these firms in their response to the request for qualifications included a history of similar project experience that they have had with projects similar to the Franklin High School project, both in size and in the kind of building we're building, which is a new school. So the committee was able to evaluate 3 of those projects. They evaluated them both for similarity and in terms of what was the original budget cost for the project and what did that project come in at. What was the difference there? Were the firms coming in under cost? Were they coming in above cost? Were they coming in right where they needed to be? Same thing for timeline. We've talked about not only is cost important here, timeline's important as well on this project. We know we're in a crunch, on the active campus. We know we got to get things done. So the timeline, how long did each of these companies say they were going to take to complete these projects versus how long it actually took them to complete them. So the committee evaluated and assigned a point value for these important metrics related to project experience. Also, and most importantly, the key personnel, who's going to be working on this project. Each company, as part of this qualification packet, had to provide a sworn statement identifying the key personnel that was going to serve on this project. The committee evaluated this based on the roles that each of these individuals would be serving, each of their resumes, which included, how long have they been doing it, what kind of projects have they worked on, and lastly, each firm gave us a little bit of an insight on how they would handle the proposed Franklin High School project based on the information that was available for the request, made available in the request for qualification. So once each of these companies were assigned a point value, each of these 3 companies, there was a high scorer and a low scorer. Carol Daniel was the high scorer in this process of ranking these firms. But the next order of business, the selection committee wanted to interview each of these firms that had submitted a request for qualifications. So these firms were interviewed on March 11th by the selection committee. This was a great exercise where each of the firms came, they gave a detailed presentation and allowed members of the selection committee to ask them detailed questions about this project, about their timeline for this project, how they felt this project things we could do to make this project better, and just to get that impression that you want to interview, the impression you want to get, why you conduct interviews to begin with. Wanted to have a face-to-face meeting with each of these, again, because this is such an important project, and I think, I'm not going to speak for the selection committee, but of course they wanted their recommendation to be the best of those firms for this project. And so once the interview process concluded, Carol Daniel, again, stood out in the interview process and gave that selection committee a real level of comfort based on their project experience, based on their project history, and those experienced individuals in their firm, that they would be the ones to handle this project. And that is who the liaison committee will be recommending here tonight. The next steps, once we have, we will now begin contract negotiations with this construction manager at risk, Carol Daniel, and we will then be bringing before this board to approve on March 25th a contract for pre-construction services. Going back to the construction manager at risk process, how that process works, it is a new process to us, but we have learned a lot about it. We have, in consulting with our architect as well as consultants and each of the firms that had actually came through and interviewed, we have found that the construction manager at risk process is the only way to go on a project of this magnitude, on a project of this complexity. So that's why we chose that method. So the first part of that contract, the construction manager will come in and they will get with the architect. They will go through the architect's plans. They will help the architect develop and finish those plans. And in doing that, they will be able to go through and analyze where we can seek budget savings, where we can, cost avoidance, how we can get this project into the budget and into the timeline that this board expects, I think that the school board expects, and the citizens of Macon County expect. So that will be the first part of this contract, will be to bring that pre-construction contract in here on March 25th and approve that. Once that's approved, they will go through the pre-construction exercise with the architect, and the final product of that will be a guaranteed maximum price. That is another thing that is very attractive about this construction manager at risk process. Through that guaranteed maximum price, they're basically saying going in, this is what this is going to cost. Anything above that amount's on us. So it will not exceed that amount. We will not have the instance such as we saw here tonight with the locker room project, where we had change orders that we were having to approve over and above contingency. This is designed to be a smooth process because it is so complex. The general contractor being involved on the front end offers us tremendous benefits on the back end, where that guaranteed maximum price comes into play. And that is what will be used in the construction phase. That guaranteed maximum price, the fee we will negotiate at that time will be a percentage of the overall cost. But again, as we have done with this whole project, with the architects, with the construct, we're taking it one piece at a time. So in order to get to the next piece, this is the definite next step that we have to take for the Franklin High School project, will be to enter into a pre-construction agreement with Carol Daniel Construction, and we will be asking the board to approve that recommendation here tonight and allow us to bring the contract that we have negotiated for pre-construction services for construction manager at risk for the Franklin High School project with Carol Daniel Construction at the March 25th meeting. So, Mr. Chairman, turn it back over to you.
Thank you for that update. So we need to go ahead and make a motion then to proceed with this. Do I have a motion?
Chairman, I make a motion at this time that we enter into pre-construction agreements with Carol Daniel.
As the liaison person along with Josh, I second that motion.
I just wanted to take a minute during discussion to answer any questions and kind of give just a brief summary. Mr. Manager did a good job summarizing what Ms. Breeden and Mr. Breedlove and Mr. Shields and I got to sit through. We sat through about 4.5 hours of interviews. And in my opinion, what stuck out with Carol Daniel is just the amount of volume that they do in school projects. They're pretty much the biggest builder in the Southeast. They pretty much build predominantly most of the schools in the state of Georgia. At any given time, they have 12 to 15 schools. I would venture to say in particular
K-12 schools going at any point in time. Most of again, Northeast Georgia have been built by Carroll Daniel. They currently are about to start the new Rayburn County High School. They currently are working at Rayburn Gap Nakuchi School. And so to me, you think about buying power, you're a few months behind Rayburn Gap, you're buying two schools, almost 1 million square feet at the same time. And so I think at the end of the day, that's going to ultimately save us. Plus, Georgia has figured out how to build a school. I mean, it's not a secret. When you drive around down there, they've got these schools down pat. And for me, to bring in a builder like that, I'm not saying that, or suggesting that anybody we interviewed couldn't do that, but their resume spoke for itself, and that's why I had confidence in making that motion.
Any further discussion? All in agreement? Vote by raising your hand. 5-0. 5-0. Ms. Rowland, give me a little, my memory's gone bad on F.
That's Mr. Ridenhour.
Maybe is that, okay, we're playing, all right, we're going with it. Okay.
Okay, on the Pine Grove School, this is the little white building there at the intersection of Peaks Creek and Nanahail Road. Just to remind you of what's transpired with that, we got the deed back into the county's name in early 2023. There's some old property line overlaps between two of the neighbors. We exchanged deeds on those and cleaned up those property lines. We've had offers on that in the past. They were not for the full tax value. We just recently received a new offer on that property for the tax value of $102,910. Again, on these type of sales of the surplus property, if the board is inclined to accept it, it then gets published in the newspaper. There's anybody who wants to upset that bid that can then do so within 10 days after that publication first airs. That upset bid is submitted to the finance department. If it's for a higher amount in the at least a 5% increase, then it comes back before the board. The board then accepts that or declines it at any time. It can stop the process. If it approves the upset bid, it gets republished again. This can be and end up being a lengthy process, depending on how many times it may or may not be upset bid. It is valued at $102,910. That's the amount of the offer. I would expect that if we can get the word out that this, if commissioners accept that offer, we get the word out that there will be a number of upset bids for that price, especially since inflation on this property. Don't know what kind of condition it's in. I haven't been in it. But that's up to the board to decide if you want to accept this bid and let it out through the public bid process of 168-269.
And 168 is what's on the that's what it would be. There's a rule of thumb we always use in order to declare a price of something.
In this case, I mean, it's been the general policy of the board that they wouldn't consider an offer unless it was at least for the tax appraised value.
Tax
appraised.
appraised
The way
value.
y'all have handled that in the past.
And this one here is less than the tax appraised value.
No, this is the tax assessed value of $102,910, and that's the amount of the offer. So we have the tax appraised value by the county is $102,910. That is the amount of offer. That's the amount that the offer has been made. That then gets published and is subject to the upset bid process.
If you're looking for a discussion, I'll start it off. I mean, I feel like I have an obligation to be a good steward of county funds and county property. I just don't feel like that's an equitable transaction for the county. You can't buy a piece of property, build a house, put well, septic, sewer. The inside of that place is in good shape. For $100,000, I just feel like there's maybe they have the tax assessment wrong because it's a historical building, I don't know. But to me, I feel like it's out of whack, and I just can't in good faith support that at this time. If it was a better offer, I probably could. But that's my personal reservation.
We've talked about it for quite a while, I mean, it's not a house, it's just a building. I'm not sure about the sewer on it, not done any investigation on it, but it's a small piece of land, and we've kind of dangled this out there for a while. And it makes, if you'll offer tax value for a piece of property that's surplus, deemed surplus, we'll entertain that offer and enter the upset bid process. So based on that, based on our previous discussions, I'll make a motion that we entertain, or that we accept the offer for, go through the upset bid process.
And just for clarification, there is no requirement that an upset bid be only 5%. I mean, somebody may come in and say, look, I want to cut to the chase. I don't want this to drag on. I don't want the property to sit out there with, for the elements without being cared for. They may come in and bid out $200,000. And if somebody really wants it, they can come in and make that bid and see if anybody wants to upset that. So it doesn't have to go in 5% increments. It can go in whatever. I mean, if anybody listening has an interest in that property, then they're welcome to upset it for $1 million.
Been sitting there a long time.
And again, totally up to the board. If the board has other plans or ideas for that, then certainly now would be a good time also to air those.
If I'm reading this agreement correctly, you have to raise the bid by a minimum of 10% for the first $1,000, 5% of the remainder.
That's it, yeah.
Per the statute, correct?
Yeah, so it's a funny math problem, but it's
funny math.
basically 5%.
5%.
Can you repeat that motion Mr. Higdon proposed?
His motion was to approve the offer in the amount of $102,910.
$910.
Start the upset bid process.
To start the
correct?
upset bid.
Process, right.
Got a statement on it. What do they have that assessed value on the house, and what's the breakdown, do you know?
Yes. We've got building values assessed at $36,210, land values assessed at $66,700.
A property like that is used by the community. It is also a precinct. I feel that we haven't had any public input on releasing a community property like that. And I think we should have a public hearing on releasing that property before we just give away, or not give away, but sell a property that maybe the community is attached to that, and they say by no means sell it. So I think moving forward, which you made a motion.
We need a second for discussion.
What's that? Yeah, it needs that, so.
But is it, we had a motion, but is there a second? Any further discussion?
Dies for
There's no second.
How did we acquire the property? Does anybody know how
We acquired the property. It had been turned over to the Macon County Historical Preservation Society, and that was done before my time, so I don't know why that took place. That then just kind of dissolved, and so it had been sitting out there owned by this entity that was basically dissolved, and so contacted members that were last members of that society, and they kind of had they voted in a meeting to wind up the corporation and agreed to convey it back to the county. There was a reversion clause in that deed, and so that's how that deed got signed and given back to the county.
To Mr. Higdon's point, I mean, we are performing maintenance on it. I know
costing the county, so, you know, you're danged either way.
Yeah. So, I would,
So but it's
Well,
dying
so we're-
because of lack of a second.
Well, it will die unless somebody's gonna try to revive it with a second.
It's dying because it doesn't have a second.
Right.
Yeah. Then, when that happens, are you gonna,
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that,
well, did we jump something here?
Well, so that one, I guess we first have to announce that the motion, that Mr. Higdon's motion died for lack of a second, and then that's died, then we can entertain a new motion.
Okay, we're in the new car now.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we have a public hearing on the Pine Grove School property to get the public input before we go into contract to sell this property.
You've heard the motion, is there a second?
I'll second that. Is it a big deal, Mr. Attorney, for a public hearing like that?
No, and if that's where we're going, I would just, for purposes of efficiency, I'd say let's schedule that public hearing before the next county meeting in April so that we don't have to call people back over. You don't have to pay me to attend a second meeting, that type of thing.
Look, that's an easy way out for us, and I mean, I wouldn't mind for there to be a big sign posted on the property and advertised in the paper, but that way at least, you know, the locals who drive by there, they see it and they know. I just would hate for somebody to give it to the county and then the county sell it out from under them.
And then just for clarification, the plan would be, since I would be in charge of noticing that, I do have email from the neighbors that we've exchanged quitclaims, and I would most certainly let them know, obviously, because I'd be trying to get somebody to keep up in that bid. But that was before. We can still do that even after we have a public hearing on that in April. So we can certainly notice this hold a public hearing before the April meeting about this issue.
Well, could we include that in the continuance of this meeting?
You're saying at the April meeting, though.
I was just saying that, notice it for the April meeting.
Yeah, notice it for the April meeting,
Not the 25th.
Right.
Not the 25th. The 25th has already been noticed, or will be
Okay.
in the newspaper tomorrow.
Okay.
The one you approved this morning actually got sent to the paper on Friday in order to make that happen in time with it. That one required a 10-day notice. If we go ahead and announce today, in open meeting, that is going to be a public hearing at the April meeting, we're covered.
Any further discussion? If not, all in agreement, right hand? Not agreement, no hands, or voice it.
Oh.
Where we at, Paul? All right, okay. 4-1. Is it breakfast yet? I'm not a person. We're going with the, G. Is that?
That's Eric, yes.
Yeah, so we've got the sales tax referendum, and I believe that is in your packet. This is similar, or if not identical, to the referendum we had a year and a half ago. So this would be a resolution calling for a special advisory referendum for the levy of a 1/4 cent county sales and use tax. And that would be voted upon at the November election. If the board so approves, we would submit that to the Board of Elections for inclusion on that ballot.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We gotta have so for Ms. Keiser, we gotta have a verbal second.
Did you verbally second?
I'll second that motion.
I'm motioning. I'm ready to go.
All right,
Okay.
got a motion, you got a second, any more, discussion?
Who seconded?
I did.
You
One
did?
of them,
Okay.
Paul made the motion, John seconded. we're in the cussing and discussion section.
Well, Chairman, as I told you earlier today, if there is such thing as a fair tax, it's sales tax. And I also stated that if the will of the people is to increase that sales tax by 0.25%, by all means. So the people of Macon County has an option to approve it or not approve it again. And so that's.
Any further discussion?
I say leave it in the hands of the people. We don't have much here in Macon County, and our citizens are consistently going to surrounding counties, and they're paying into everybody else's sales tax. It doesn't make sense for us to not have people that are coming through here not pay into our taxes as well. So,
Thank you.
I'm for it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in agreement that consideration of a resolution regarding 1/4 cent county sales use tax reference. I'm blind in one eye, but I'm seeing pretty good out of the other one. All right, a vote, all in agreement. Okay. H. Mr. Rowland.
Yes, sir. Glad to have Mr. Stahl with us here tonight. And he's going to be coming to talk with us about the approval to exempt requests for proposals for engineering services below $50,000 for geotechnical engineering services for hydrogeologic design and update to the environmental monitoring plan for the future Phase 3, Cell 2 of the Macon County landfill. That is the longest sentence that I think I've ever read.
And while you're catching your breath, as I was reviewing this today, and I apologize for not being here during the setting of the agenda, if it would be possible to flip I and H, it'll just make more sense that way.
Does that have to be done with a motion if you flip something like that, or is it just consensus?
Just
I'm on
consensus. So,
is everybody cool with me going with the second one first?
yeah, go I first and then H.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, apologize, I didn't get that said earlier. I had already switched them in my notes, so. So the second item, I won't make Derek read. Basically, let me make sure this is it. I think my glasses are going bad. What I have put in your package, and basically this is just board okaying. I don't even know that it takes a formal action of the board. The process by which we will select engineering services for the construction of the next landfill cell. And for reasons I think I've talked about before, so unless I haven't, or if you have the question, I'll explain it. Wanting to roll the closure of the old landfill into this project. And yeah, there's a very definite reason why I want to make that a dual project. But basically, all I'm asking for tonight is the board to approve the process by which we will select an engineering consulting firm to perform the engineering services in the attached scope. No, yes. Does that make sense?
And that's what I was saying,
Yes.
what you just said.
And basically, so I don't have to go through that process, it's almost exactly what Derek just described to you, except it's engineering services instead of construction services. But other than that, he said it beautifully. It's exactly what we're looking to do. Go through an RFQ process, there will be a recommendation back to the board to request approval to enter into a contract with said firm. So pretty much.
Who's on that committee?
Historically, it's me, Lori, Lindsay, and Derek. I don't know that that's written in stone as far as if other people
Welcome to
wanted
have a
to.
board member if any
Yeah,
of y'all
yeah.
are interested.
I mean, I'm not a professional in that trade. I just was curious.
I mean, yeah, I don't think we named the board. That's just historically who has done it. But if anybody wants to be a part of that, I'm sure Derek and Lori are, no.
Well, listen, I don't have any trouble. I'll make a motion that we solicit an RFQ for the engineering services to permit Macon County landfill phase 3, cell 2, and closure of Macon County landfill phases 1 and 2.
Heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Antoine. Any further discussion? Not call for a vote, right hand up.
Commissioner Young, I'll let you know, and we'll get you on that review.
If you want to be. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you were committed.
I don't
We'll
mind
be
being.
happy to have any of you if you want to help us evaluate.
Yeah.
Because by all means, I'm a finance person, Lindsay's a
No,
finance
I was
person.
just-
So, yeah, we'd welcome any other input.
Well, like I said, if you remember, and Derek, I don't know if what you said was written down or if you were just going from the hip, but all the things he was saying about their criteria, is pretty much
Very
exactly
similar
the same
criteria.
criteria we're
You
going
mean
to
at the school?
Yeah, it's very similar.
Experience, similar projects.
More from the hip.
Okay. Well, I hope Tammy took good notes then. Is the approval of a resolution exempting engineering services in the amount of under $50,000 from the RFQ process. And basically, this is kind of a kickoff piece to what will become these projects. The development of a landfill, briefly, you set your boundaries by what's horizontally, how deep you can go, and then how high is kind of set by the outer boundary. But we have to know how deep we can go. So in order to hit the ground running with this project after we get through that process, and I'll return briefly to why I say hit the ground running. The hydro work has to happen in front of that process because that is what the bottom contour of the landfill that this process, they have to know what the bottom's going to look like to build it into the construction documents and the permitting documents. So this is for the services to perform the hydro, DHR and hydrologic investigation report, which, like I said, that will be used by the engineers to develop the bottom of the new landfill.
I'm glad I can't do a motion. Do we have somebody else? I can figure out what was said there.
Hey, just give me the meat and potatoes. I mean, why do we need to exempt for an RFQ on this one?
Okay, so I said I would and I didn't. Circling back to the timeline, the faster we can start this process, the better we're going to be on the back end. We have a tight schedule to build. As you know, we're running out of space in phase 3, cell 1. Our vertical expansion that's been going on is in the hands of the state. We're waiting for approval. But that still puts us at about 3 years, plus or minus. And so the timeline for this project is 2+ years. And that's counting on the state being responsive and getting our approvals back to us in a timely manner. So it's a tight window, and the only way we can get started and hit the ground running in July with what will be the meat of getting the permit, is to have this information collected and ready for the engineers, like on July 1st. Does that make sense?
That's McGill? McGill?
No,
will do the
this is-
engineering?
The BLE, Benell Emmons is
Oh,
the hydro.
Geotech.
Yes.
That's who, okay, I'm good with that. That's who to use.
So, yeah, so if y'all are cool, and we'll do
Grant
whatever
the
Lori
exemption.
says.
Yeah, you'll grant the exemption by adopting that resolution. Since it's under 50K by statute, we can exempt it from the RFQ process.
BLE's good.
Is that your motion?
I believe you put a resolution in there, didn't you, Chris?
I did.
Yeah. So the motion would be to approve the resolution exempting RFQ for engineering services for the geotech hydrological design and update to the environmental monitoring plan for future Phase 3, Cell 2, Macon County landfill.
So moved.
I second that.
Did you get all that, Tim?
Where did you get out of here?
BLE's really, that's the only bunch to use, so.
And we just, I mean, neither here nor there with this future process, but these steps leading up to this were all performed by BLE. So they're ahead of the game, and they're probably the only ones that could get it done this
It'll
quick.
save you 2 months.
The other piece about the importance of the timeline and why I tied the closure of phases 1 and 2, I'm hoping, I don't always get what I want, but I'm hoping to time this so that we get our vertical expansions, we move back to Phase 2, go through, as we're going through this process, then move back to Phase 3, and finish filling that landfill and by that time be ready to start construction on Phase 3, Cell 2, and take that dirt directly from where we need it gone from and deliver it where we need it to go to, instead of having to pay to move 200,000 yards of dirt twice. That's the point in merging those two projects, if I can make the timelines work.
Any further discussion or clarification?
Call for a vote.
All in favor of what Lori said in the motion? Raise your right hand.
We did.
Yes.
We moved quick, right? We moved quick.
Yes, I can keep it. What was the count? 5-0.
Okay, the last item that I sent, this is kind of the culmination of some things in the department that have changed through this board over the last couple of years. Our ordinance says that the county commissioners will basically register, permit, approve anybody that's going to be hauling trash for hire. We've never had a program to register these companies, because historically, we've had one company that we recognized, which was our franchisee. Their rules and regulations were spelled out in the franchise, so there was kind of nothing, there was no reason to do this. At the last extension of the franchise, the franchise, and Eric, if you can say this better than me, the franchise was limited to subscription service, but an on-demand request for a can at a construction site or a cleanup or whatever was no longer part of the exclusive franchise. Since then, we've had a couple dozen at least. It seems like I see a new trailer coming in pretty regular. So that's led me to get back into the ordinance and what it says, and I think we need to develop a program that the ordinance says we're going to have. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at this. I just wanted to get this in front of you. I have written sort of the program, the application process that a company would go through to become registered in the county. I have not delved into, well, operationally, administratively, I don't think it's a heavy lift, so I'm not concerned about that. But any punitive pieces of this, I just haven't gone there because I wanted feedback from you gentlemen before I brought you something that you didn't want to see.
What's the real issue here? I mean, they come in, dump trash, they pay the bill.
That's not, no, the issue is honestly about protecting the citizens. I mean, that's why people regulate trash. John, 6 months ago, you had a construction crew that came down the road and dumped it on the side of the road. Well, if we have people registered, and that is a registered hauler, that makes us easier. It makes it easier for us to track them down, but it also makes it easier for us to hold them accountable. Because right now, we have no mechanism to hold them accountable. But depending on the punitive piece that gets built into this, and I've asked Eric to look at, what statutory authority we have in how this can be enforced. But that's one piece of it. Another piece is just making sure these people are licensed to do business in North Carolina, have insurance. If somebody comes and drops a can and crushes your car or tears down your fence, if it's Johnny Trailer, and that person doesn't have any insurance, that's going to impact the customer. I don't want to stop anybody from hauling trash in the manner that I've discussed. It's just a matter of having an accounting of those people so that the citizens, you don't have to hire somebody, you don't necessarily have to hire somebody that has been registered, although I think the whole program's kind of pointless unless you do hire somebody. But that means we vetted them. They at least have insurance. If they've got multiple employees, they have workman's comp. They are licensed to do business in North Carolina. And we've got them on our radar. I'm inspecting their equipment. If they're just pulling a trailer, does it have a functioning tarp? Does it have holes in the side? Just basic stuff so that we're not getting windblown litter from people pulling untarped trailers. We're not getting people illegally dumping and not having an avenue to enforce anything punitive against those people. And basically, I'm trying to fulfill what the ordinance says that Macon County will do. The ordinance, I think I listed some pertinent sections for if you want to check and see where I'm coming from. But like I said, all I want to do right now is just get this out there to you at your leisure. Feel free to reach back out to me with comments, concerns, and that's where it'll be until.
Do other counties have an ordinance like you're trying to propose here?
Yes, most counties do want licensed haulers. They do track their haulers, and again, it's just for all the things that it's to kind of give you some control over all the things that can go bad. I mean, if I go and pick up your trash and I charge you, I don't know, what would I charge? $100 for setting a can and $150 for pending tipping fees, and I go and dump it in a hauler somewhere, I got $250 and the county's got a mess. So it's really just a matter of keeping track and holding people accountable. If somebody brings something into me that is a banned material or a hazardous material, I need to be able to hold that. I need to be able to hold that hauler liable. So I need an accounting. I need a record of who is bringing me stuff. And like I said, even as simple as, do you have a tarp? When you come in here, is your load tarped? Or have you been littering all the way from wherever you came from? So it's just a mechanism to do a lot of the things that we already kind of do, but put an actual procedure to them as anticipated in the ordinance.
Is this only for cans? Is this only for cans?
Yes.
For dumpsters, whatever?
Yes.
So it does not apply to dump trucks and dump trailers?
No, I'm sorry. Anything that can haul weight. There's some parts in here where I talk about, they should be in there. Whether this is just for people for hire or if it's for people who are bringing their own. If you bring a chip truck in, it's your stuff on your truck, do you have to have a license?
You read my mind. There's a lot of them that don't have license or insurance, and they're in there every day. And a lot of drivers, I mean.
Well, like I said,
But I feel like that's why we have the DOT and DMV.
well, I've said that a million
Not being
times.
mean.
No, I've said that a million times, the same thing with regard to littering, because that's them and not us. I'm not doing an inspection on the vehicle. All I want to know is, can you cover it? Does it have holes? And are you on my list? That's really all I care about. Because if you're on my list, that means you have insurance, you have a business license, you are good to do business in Macon County. But that's protection to the customers and a role of knowing that these people, for lack of anything else, that these people are all on a level playing field. But yes, one of the things that I am still on the fence about and I'm looking for feedback is if you're hauling your own. In some ways I think, well, maybe not, but in some ways I think, yeah, we should probably pick them up too if they're showing up every day, or if they're showing up with their own stuff. But it gets into what problems are we trying to fix, or what problems are we trying to stave off and not
I was
experience?
gonna say, all of a sudden now you have these guys without driver's licenses that are scared to go to the landfill, so now they are dumping stuff over the bank because they're scared to go.
Well, no, I'm not checking, I'm only checking their equipment.
Okay.
I mean,
Sorry, but it's okay, I'm being facetious here, I guess.
But you're checking for hot loads though, or illegal dump.
yeah, I mean, we're doing that anyway.
Yeah.
It's just now, it gives me a mechanism to, instead of saying, take this back or call these people to come get this is what should happen with this material, but it can't come here. And they just go and put it in a bigger bag and tie it off better and hide it better and bring it. It gives me an actual mechanism to potentially have a punitive cost that I can apply to that company to pay for proper disposal when that shows back up and I call a hazardous waste company to come pick it up.
I see the issue. It's a tough one.
Well, I mean, even with this paperwork that you've sent out, Chris, you have collection vehicle information, waste hauler registration application, which is asking for tax ID numbers, number of fleet. Then you're saying here that you want to know all the insurance information from these vehicles. I mean, it just.
I just want to know that you have liability insurance. I don't
Well, I mean,
care
if that
about.
was the case, we could solve the problem at the border. If we were magical and we could do that, I mean, we can't do it. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I followed a truck, the county's hauler from Highlands all the way to Franklin. I videoed this. 38 pieces of trash blew out of that trailer. So we got an issue. Just because you cover this trailer or this truck does not mean that trash is not gonna blow out of there. And so, to me, this is absolutely nothing more than government overreach. That's simple. Your job is to take trash in and dispose of that trash in the landfill. In my mind, you're not out here to inspect people's vehicles and whether they got driver's license and insurance and everything else, because I look at the sheriff's department stuff and I see all these people that have been arrested for no driver's license. Well, that you cannot do apples to apples here, and as the Commissioner Young always says, we gotta call a spade a spade. And so to me, if you're going, only the people that's law abiding abides by this stuff. And so to me, this is penalizing some new companies that have come in here that is hauling stuff, and we need a strong private sector. And so therefore, this is, in my mind, is nothing more than government overreach.
Well, with all due respect, my job is to enforce the ordinances of Macon County, and that is, an ordinance says we will have this. It's not gonna break my heart if we don't,
Right.
but the ordinance says we do, and I think there are some protections that are due to our citizens and some potential problems that this would solve. I don't care if you have a driver's license. I go and see that you don't have holes and you have a tarp and you have a tax ID, so you're legal to do business in North Carolina. I'm gonna put a sticker on your thing. And that's the end of it, until the next year. And all I'm looking for then, do you still have a tarp? Is there still not a hole in your truck?
Okay, so the ones that don't have a tax ID and everything else, where are they gonna put their garbage? If you restrict them to the point that they cannot come in and do business in the landfill.
I'm not saying they can't do business. Again, I know you haven't had time to read it, but one of the things, we also have an ordinance that says if waste is generated in Macon County, it is to come to the Macon County landfill. So when I talk about punitive, I'm not talking about denying anybody access to the landfill. What I'm talking about is a citizen that needs this service can make the decision, do I want somebody that the county has vetted and said has at least promised to the county that they're gonna do it the right way, or not? And if not, you can still use them. If they tear your mess up, it's just gonna be a lawsuit because they may not have any insurance. But I don't care if they do it. I'm just telling you, we say we're gonna provide some protection to the citizens. We don't say we're gonna keep anybody from doing business.
Has any citizens in Macon County contacted you and said they were concerned about who was hauling their garbage off their property?
Once again, John, I'm bringing you something the ordinance says we will do.
Well, and that's good.
That's
We
it.
need to review the ordinance and make adjustments to the ordinance or whatever the case may be.
That's fine.
I mean, we're still having issues with illegal dump sites and everything else already. I can't imagine what would happen, so.
Who reviews the ordinance? Planning board, or who reviews that? Us?
I don't know who else would.
Is the planning board part of this review?
I'd say planning board takes on a lot of that.
You're on the planning board.
Yes, sir.
Is that something we can move to the planning board for them to?
Well, I feel like, I guess what I see here is maybe you're presenting a business model that say, if you're gonna be for hire, you wanna have that, but I think the area that Mr. Sherrill's going is people that don't take that route, that people right now, there's contractors without a license performing construction in Macon County. I feel like that's what's hard is.
Well, and they have an
both of you are
unfair,
right,
they have an unfair advantage and a leg up on the others.
There's street
Like I
companies without
said,
workman's comp,
I'm
I know.
not saying company A that does and company B that don't. I don't care that they both exist, but the citizen has a right to know.
No, I understand the point you're making. I think you both have valid points. That's a tough one.
Anyway, like I said, it's in your court. If you never want to hear about it again, just don't come back to me with any comments and it'll die on the vine.
Can we refer it to the planning board?
Listen, we're happy to, and you guys are welcome to the planning board. It's not, that's good discussion. What the planning board is you just have a broad array of community members at large that men, women of all ages and all walks of life, and they take this on and, we'd love to take it.
How do we put that in motion that the planning board pick this up?
I would recommend, I haven't got up to speed with this. I'm sorry, I'm just bogged down right now. So I'm behind it. I haven't reviewed any of this yet. So it was sent to me. I haven't looked at it, to be honest. So let me get with Chris, look at the stats, or look at our ordinance, then look at this, and then I'll come back to you and say, present it and let you all decide at that point. How about that?
Then, was part of the decision we could make, is send it to the planning board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I'm the one that's the ignorant one in the room, so let me,
There's two of us. I'll admit it, though.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the job you do. Let's see now. On the 12 is the consent agenda, then we'll go to 13. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved, Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of consent agenda being approved, vote right-handed. All right, now we'll find Mr. Antoine again. No, who's this? This is John Sherrill.
Oh, yeah, well, let me find my documentation. I've got
Number
everything in the
13.
world messed up over here.
You get those names, John? Oh, yeah, you picked up.
I do, but I gotta find them. Lori's got my paperwork all mixed up over here. I'll find it in a minute.
It's your filing system.
No, I flip-flop through this paperwork forever.
Laying there.
Oh, here it is. Oh, wait a minute. No, it ain't. That's not the right one.
But you still got the three names in your head?
Yeah, I do have the names, but I want to do it to be absolute. Did you take my paperwork?
Maybe he should be the one to present it.
It's the,
Mr. Chairman, as the liaison to the Economic Development Commission and the Highlands Tourism Development Commission, we have 3 seats available on the Economic Development Board, and the mayor from town of Franklin has sent a recommendation that we approve Stacy Guffey of the town of Franklin, and the mayor, Pat Taylor from Highlands, has asked that we appoint Brian Steeler, and the Chamber of Commerce in Highlands has asked that we appoint, or the recommendation is Kay McCann. So, and just to give you an update, Stacy Guffey is the Vice Mayor of Franklin, Brian Steeler is Highlands Commissioner, and Kay McCann is the Highlands TC Director and the Chamber of Commerce.
Will you make that in?
And I make a motion that we approve those positions as recommendations from those 3 boards.
You need some more information, spelling or anything? No, I got it. You got it.
Second.
I've been second.
Let's go.
Any further discussion? Let's do a vote. Well, watch y'all this time. All right. Watch it. All right, 5-0. I'm gonna have to pull Paul if y'all wanna hurry and get out of here.
Do we have a closed session?
Yes,
We do?
yeah. Property discussion. Brief.
Okay. So motion go into closed session.
okay, so that's gonna be under 143-318.11A. Oh, 4, I know what we're talking about. 4, property, economic development.
Then I'm done, thank you.
No,
No?
that'll do.
Huh?
That'll do. I shared it with Derek, I didn't share it with you.
Okay.
Purpose of our meeting.
No, I appreciate it.
Mr. Antoine did.
Yeah, second over here.
And I think that was the only place you did, you know, you kind of looked everywhere else.
This time of the night.
Oh, I know.
Just scattered, rained as I are, as they say.
Well, pull a Higdon.